Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's the old MCU crew. Jesse's dancing. He's dancing.
We all look real haggard today.
Do we? I think Bronze looks great. What are you talking about?
I'm reflecting mostly myself.
Okay.
I feel like how I look. Just a mess.
You look
I
fine.
woke up 5 minutes before the stream, so I'm not even going to front, you know?
Yeah.
I'm still working on fixing my sleeping schedule.
I mean, it's a tough thing, for sure. It's a tough thing. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. Jesse, did you wake up 5 minutes before?
30 minutes before, actually. Thank you very much. Right. And I set my alarm for an hour and a half before that. But hey, guess what?
Didn't go off?
AM.
Phone died?
Is not
PM.
PM.
A rookie mistake.
I don't know why I put PM, but apparently 7 PM is when my alarm is going to. So here's the good news. I didn't sleep through the entire day.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Where are you sitting though, Jesse?
Oh, well, this is the new timeline as variant Jesse. This is my new office. No, I'm at home. This is my home, my lovely apartment. Except for some reason I moved. Look, I set up this the other day. I set this up the other day.
Is that a record player?
It is.
Ooh.
There's going to be stuff in there. Get ready.
Classy.
And then set up. I had to move this piece over here so I could get rid of it.
Okay.
And then I just never did. And then I was I was at the office too much. And then I lost my car. And then look, it's been a week. Variant Jesse's life has been. Yeah, the LA County garbage men and their giant garbage truck, when they went to go empty garbage, I guess some of it flew out and slammed into the rear window of my car, shattering it. So, yeah, I have that's getting repaired right now. So I don't have a car. So I've been walking everywhere. Thankfully, I can walk, right? I think I got these legs, thankfully. And so it hasn't been an issue, but it's just been a pain. So there's no way I could get to the office today in time to record at the office. So I had to come. So I had to stay here. And then when we're done here, then I'll go to the office.
So you didn't misplace your car. You just had to subtract it from your daily equation.
It has been removed.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
From your inventory.
Yeah. I thought you
No, I'm just
a
variant
where your
today.
car was.
Just the timeline's changed. There's a giant statue back there.
You have to make sure your car is saved in a garage. Otherwise, when you log back in, there's no guarantees on.
It was my favorite too. Now I got to go steal some. The poor guy just trying to get to work, and his little.
You got to punch him in the face and steal his car. Yeah.
Man, punching's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know how Grand Theft Auto, you could eat a bunch, and then your guy would be like, "Oh, I gotta work out, man." That's me. I'm the guy who didn't do the workout parts, but he's like, "Oh, there's a pizza over there, nice." So yeah. Oof, that's gonna be rough. I guess I'll steal someone's bike instead.
You just uncovered a memory for me of playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Oh,
getting super shredded. And then the girl I was trying to date was in the Chubby Guys.
Well.
So then I
had to... Skull one
game?
Team Jesse.
They had that in San Andreas?
Jesse.
Yeah. They had preferences. And the girl I was trying to date was like, nah, I don't like these ripped guys. And I was like, but then I kept naturally just getting ripped from running everywhere and stuff like that. I just kept losing weight. And I was like, if only I had this problem in real life. Where it's like, I just can't keep this weight on.
Sorry, I was feeling myself.
It happens. For podcast listeners, you're really missing out here, is all I'll say. I got, we had to go to a different scene. Jesse had to be taken out of the shot for a bit. You know, it was a little X-rated.
Jesse had to be taken out of the shot?
Yeah.
Jesse should have been the whole shot. Should have been all me, baby.
I just feel like this is very intimate. Like we're in your home.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
I was sent, a friend sent me mints from like some Scandinavian country. If like you want to know what's on my little living room table of delicious mints.
Are they mints of dead fish? Just like pickled fish?
No, they're just like mints, but they're like the Queen's mints or something like that. And I put them there.
Sure.
For when it's time to smooch.
Sure. Yeah. You got to be ready at a moment's notice. With
Why don't you believe that, Bronze? Why don't you believe that, Bronze? Why are you looking at me like you don't believe that? Are you saying I just keep mints around?
I don't believe that, but like if you pop, I don't know. I feel like you're like showing your hand. You do that.
My hand?
Yeah. If a dude leaned over and grabbed a mint, I would be like, somebody's feeling confident. Now it's like that Pengu meme. Now I don't want to.
No,
somebody's feeling a little confident. How do you know that's the way this is gonna go?
I mean, if you want the honest truth, they have been there since, I'm gonna say,
you moved in
2017. Oh. And I'm just like, yeah. So yeah, it's they're just mints, and I offer them to people, and people are like, nah. I'm like, all right, well, I'll leave them there for if anyone wants them, because I'm trying to be a good host. But yeah, no, I'm not like, look, if we smooching, you getting like garlic breath or something. I'm gonna be like, yeah. You want onions with that, girl?
Gross. Nasty. Awful. Bad times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I kind of wish those were dead fish mints now, so that would just like...
Who would make dead fish mints?
Scandinavians.
I don't...
They'd find something.
To an entire part of the world.
They'd probably be like, we haven't tried that yet. We should probably try that. Somewhere.
Formally apologize to all the Scandinavian nations for the incentive.
No, they're all saying like JP's not wrong. We should try that. That's all. What do you think the fishermen's mint up for to fit with other fishermen? Right? If they've got clean Tic Tac breath, you're not allowed on the boat.
I guarantee someone's like, we already have that. It's called menthol fishing. It's like, yeah, all right.
If not, I think we should go into business with the menthol fishing. That should be the menthol fishing. Yeah, that's the next thing. Anyways, let's talk MCU news for a bit, and then we'll jump into the finale of that old Loki show, which I think we're all... I have not actually... I saw a couple of tweets from Bronze. I talked with Jesse about it briefly. So I think we're all on the same wavelength. I'm very interested.
I said I wasn't going to talk about it till this show. I've been very good.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to it here soon. We got to get the news stuff out of the way. The biggest bit of news for the MCU or for Marvel Studios is kind of great. It's weird and maybe a little bit reflective of the year 2020 when it comes to the entertainment industry, because Marvel Studios has made history with 28 nominations for the Emmys for WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. One of the most absurd, perhaps, maybe deserved, but also a little bit odd, is that Don Cheadle is up for a Emmy for his 2 minutes in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I have thoughts on this. And as an MCU fan, they're not good thoughts. It reeks of Disney forking over cash to get nominations.
Yes.
For Disney Plus.
Yes.
Like for just like Disney Plus is a place you want to be because we have nominated shows. That's all it seems like to me. But
I definitely get a little bit about that. Here is Don Cheadle's tweet about the subject. He says, thanks, well-wishers, sorry, haters, agreed, don't knowers. I don't really get it either, but here on we go. So he's a little confused about the whole thing. But, yeah. Good for him, I guess. I don't, like, I'm not saying he wasn't bad it was just 2 minutes, which is a little strange.
It wasn't like those 2 minutes were like profound acting choices.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't believe that's what he did. He showed up and like said a few lines and was like, all right, I'm still in the MCU. Bye, everyone.
To be fair.
I like Don Cheadle, but
he
just walked through a hall. And there was...
It's a little strange. Though, to be fair, the category is guest actor in a drama series.
But that's like the people who used to win those would be like the baddie of the week on Law and Order, who was like, I didn't kill them. You'll never forget. I didn't. Like the guy like really acted. And Don Cheadle was like, yes, I'm still in the MCU. I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. WandaVision was the front runner here with 23 Emmy nominations. I guess I could read all these if you want me to. Outstanding limited series, outstanding lead actress in a limited series, Elizabeth Olsen. Outstanding lead actor in a limited series, Paul Bettany. Outstanding supporting actress in a limited series. This is gonna get old. Catherine Hahn. Outstanding directing for a limited series. Outstanding writing for a limited series.
This is why these award shows go on for 8 hours.
Because they just have to read this, or because there's so many categories?
Just because there's like lead actress, lead actor, and then there's like lead actress, lead actor, comedy, and then drama, limited series. Like just like they keep coming with new awards, and I get it because everyone loves an award. I do everything I do for awards. That's like how I live. But it makes for a lot.
Sorry, some of these I'm just laughing at.
Like which one?
Outstanding period and or character makeup. Like, are they talking about Vision specifically?
Well, it says non-prosthetic. I would think that that's maybe like the first 2 or 3 episodes.
Well, I think one is outstanding period and or character hairstyle is probably Vision, but then outstanding period or character hair or makeup non-prosthetic is probably like the different generations
looks
of
or whatever.
Wanda.
Yeah,
probably.
Original music and lyrics, Agatha All Along, so that got a nod. Outstanding original main title theme music. Couldn't tell you what the WandaVision. Wasn't it different every episode? There
was an end credit.
Well, this is main title theme though. With
I don't even remember it. The Loki one has been fabulous, but I don't remember the WandaVision one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's variations all on the same theme. I guess that's true. Sound editing, sound mixing, special visual effects, music supervision. Here's a long category. Outstanding single camera picture editing for a limited or anthology series or movie. I got 2 nods for that. Outstanding fantasy / sci-fi costumes. Outstanding
I would say
casting.
that
yeah.
Based on how I know Academy stuff goes, they aren't going to win any of the first like 20, and it's going to be like sound editing, visual design. Those are the things they'll win,
right?
For sure.
Or special effects. That's like Marvel's.
If anything, I feel like they're competing with themselves. I wonder if Loki is also like, limited anthology sound editing, sound mixing, I don't think visual design.
I think the cutoff date is like Loki will have to be there for next year, essentially. Okay. So Don Cheadle was the only actor nom from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It looks like they're not competing at all with one another. Was sound editing up here? Oh no, so that's sound editing for a limited or anthology series, and this is sound editing for a comedy or drama series. So they made sure to not compete with one another.
I love that they put all their eggs in the Wanda basket. They were like, look, Falcon, it was a show. Here's your 5. Enjoy.
Yeah. It's a little silly, but we'll see what happens. The when are the Emmys happening? Oh, they don't even promote when it's happening.
You should know. You should just know. It should be in the ethos. It's that important.
September 19th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. hosted by Cedric the Entertainer.
What?
You know, the famous host, Cedric the Entertainer. Has he done a lot of hosting before?
What? I mean, awesome for Cedric the Entertainer. I honest to God haven't heard that name in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was in he was one of the Mad Kings of Comedy or whatever that show was called?
Just the Kings of Comedy?
The Kings of Comedy.
The Mad Kings of Comedy.
The Mad Kings of Comedy is like some weird
right.
alt
King
version
George
of it.
was there. It was crazy. Yeah.
He is a king of comedy. Okay. That's where I know the name from.
The Mad Kings of Comedy.
I don't know why I called it that. What was that, Bronze? You're at a loss for words?
I said I have become lost in your words.
Oh, okay. All right.
The Mad Kings of Comedy. I can't believe that. It's really funny to me. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
Mad Kings of Comedy.
The Mad Kings. It's just Thanos and a bunch of other random kings.
Oh my God.
But this time they're funny.
It's true.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny.
What is this? Trying to find where the actual thing is here. The Direct.com has stated that Marvel has confirmed that Catherine Hahn's Agatha will return to the MCU, but I'm trying to figure out exactly where. Marvel Studios president Kevin, it's Feige, right? That's how you pronounce that. I always mess this one up. I think it's Feige. Spoke with Rotten Tomatoes about a potential return for Catherine Hahn's Agatha Harkness after her debut in the 2021's WandaVision. When asked when fans can expect to see Hahn again, Feige revealed that it will be, quote, someday soon. Not giving any specifics, the MCU's top executive admitted that her comeback can't come soon enough. Is that maybe that's a confirmation? Why don't they just say that she's going to be in Doctor Strange too? Right? Like, why don't they just come out and say that she's going to be in the Multiverse of Madness? I don't know.
I don't know if you're looking for confirmation from me. I could have zero guesses.
Yeah.
Zero guesses.
Yeah.
While you were saying that, I was like, what are the other Marvel TV shows coming?
We'll look at that soon. We got an updated calendar. We could definitely
because I wonder if
check a look
it's easier
at that.
to slip her into that than like explain who she is in a movie, if that makes any sense.
Right. You have to reintroduce the character a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Marvel does a good job, or the Marvel community does a pretty good job of like making the meme go outside the show. So even it permeates pop culture. So I think people know who she is without watching the show somewhat loosely. But they'll probably reintroduce it.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to. They'd have to reintroduce her at some level. I mean, they even look. My theory of how they do the TV show still continues. The last episode of Loki proved the point.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know. She seems like probably a better. I don't know if it's better. I love to see her everywhere, but I feel like it seems like she's an easier like insert point into other shows, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Like she can just show up in other TV shows. People are like, oh, I know who that is, without having to be a lot of like, and now in the movie, Doctor Strange and Wanda we got to go get someone. Ah, yes, Agatha. And if you're just a movie person, if you're like my dad or whatever, he's like, who's that? What is that lady? What's she doing?
What's she doing?
Yeah. What is that? And my mom would be like, well, she was a witch on a TV show. But I'd be like, this is stupid.
Sure. Look, it's gonna get. We're getting to a point now, especially with what happened recently, that I feel like most people are gonna be like, "This is dumb," right? You're either gonna have people that buy in or people that are just like, "This is straight silly." But we'll get to that in just a sec. Last bit of news, and we'll take a look at the updated calendar. Guardians of the Galaxy star Karen Gillan wants to continue with the MCU after the third film. She has said, quote, I love my character so much. I'm sort of obsessed with her. I just get such a kick out of playing a character that's really removed from myself. But I also feel really emotionally invested in her through everything that she's gone through with Thanos and all of that. So I would love to continue the journey of the character. I don't know what that would really look like without James or Dave, but I really like playing her, so I'm not eager to finish. I think she could stick around. She could definitely pop up in the cosmic world, right? Like, they're not just going to stop making Marvel movies about space. That's like the next frontier, you know? That's where Marvel's headed in a lot of ways. So she'll pop back up, I would think. Even if she's just like the liaison from like Earth MCU to space to cosmic MCU, right? If she just like walks into scenes and explains what the fuck is going on, she'd still be worthwhile for that.
So like Space Maria Hill?
Yes, exactly that. Space Maria Hill. 100%. Although,
but
isn't Maria Hill in space now?
I was going to say like normal Maria Hill, but then I realized, have we actually seen Maria Hill?
No.
Like actual Maria Hill.
What do you mean?
In a while? I can't think of the last time was maybe her snapping.
Maybe was she anywhere in Endgame?
No, and the Maria Hill that maybe she was standing near.
She was at the funeral.
But again, question:
again.
Was that a scroll? What are the rules anymore?
Right.
Because the last time we saw them, they were like, I'm an alien now," and you're like,
well, I mean,
okay,
that's going to be the running question, I think, in the next throughout all Phase 4 is that a scroll?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the snap provides the perfect cover. That's like the great part about it, is it just provides the perfect cover of like, oh, 50% of the pop got snapped and I'm back. I'm one of the ones that came back. And it's like, what are you going to do? Do a head count and see if I don't know how to describe it. Like, how do you know who actually died?
Yeah. That's true.
Because I'm sure people died, right? I don't know how to describe it.
Well, in a lot of ways, like a scroll is just like super serum soldier, right? So like that's kind of the baseline for being a superhero.
I mean,
in the
this
MCU,
is one of those this is like a thought experiment that we don't want to have with comic book movies, right? Like,
right.
The idea of, okay, so let's say you're on a plane and you get snapped. The pilot gets snapped too. The plane crashes. When you come back, where do you come back to? Midair?
Yeah.
That's no good. The wreckage of the plane crash? Well, that's what are the rules? And so there's certainly a lot of like, oh boy. Yeah, because they never really explained the return. I mean, they kind of showed what happened, the chaos
right
that occurred in WandaVision, but they never really like, where do the people like pop back right where they were?
Yeah.
Or, like around where they were?
The most
or, like,
we got
what was convenient for them?
The most we got was
know.
like everyone came back safely. That was the most, I think, like the Russo brothers said.
But
that was the wish.
Yeah.
But there would still be situations where people who didn't get snapped died because, so like, for example, let's say
we're doing it.
You're undergoing heart surgery.
Yes.
And your surgeon gets snapped. You're dying.
But here's the caveat. Hulk wished for everyone to be returned safely.
But Tony Stark told him,
snapped.
do not. Yeah, right? Tony Stark told him, keep it the way it is, though. The last 5 years, like, I can't lose my kid.
So that was the Russo brothers. Snapped. That was not me taking what was said in the movie to fit this narrative. The Russo brothers said Hulk wished for everyone to be to return safely.
That's fine. That's fine. But he's talking specifically about those who were snapped. Anyone else who was like, I've always if you saw the world during that time period, everyone was depressed as hell. You can't tell me that there weren't people who killed themselves during this time period. And you can't tell me that then other people snap back to find out that like their loved one is dead and it's because they thought they were gone. Like, I'm just saying, the world would be chaos for a long time.
100%.
There would be a lot more than just like, this is a housing crisis. It would be way worse.
There'd be like a terrorist group that would like kind of have a message and kind of have a thought process and stuff. And then
But they wouldn't really. Yeah,
they wouldn't really have one. It would just kind of teeter out. There'd be a whole show about it, but you know,
right.
Yeah.
And in the end, it would take one good speech to wrap the whole thing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how you should probably deal with it. Yeah. Bronze,
Right.
I cut you off earlier. Do you remember what you were going to say? I apologize.
Well, no. Jesse covered it. That was kind of my point. Was like, like if your pilot gets snapped and your plane crashes, your pilot will come back safely, but all the people that died on the plane are still dead. Or if you're like getting surgery and your surgeon gets snapped, your surgeon will come back safely, but you still died on the operating table. So, like I have 100% my heart believe there were a lot of people who probably died during the blip.
Yeah,
it was just such a period of pandemonium.
It could be a entire, like story arc, right? Of that being revealed down the line, where the Skrulls probably just like inserted themselves into society in a lot of ways. And we're getting a full-on show with Secret Invasion, right? So like, there's going to be something with that eventually. And we'll just have to see.
So it's like it's the perfect cover. Let's say, somebody dies during because they showed it when Nick Fury is like, when the snap happens, there's like,
there's like a helicopter going into a skyscraper. Yeah.
It's like literal chaos. None of that got undone. We just brought back the people who were snapped. So it stands to reason it would be very easy for a Skrull to come in and take the place of someone who died during all of that chaos and just be like, oh, I was snapped away and now I'm back.
Right.
I didn't die in a car accident.
It's eventually they're gonna have to address that more so than what they already have, right? Because like we don't know the timeline in terms of when Shang-Chi is happening. A lot of people have thought that is happening pre the return, pre-Endgame, which is why Wong is fighting Abomination. Or that could also be a different like multiverse type situation. So that's weird. I guess like maybe Hawkeye could potentially address that somewhat.
Hawkeye's going to be the one to solve the whole problem.
Well, he's not going to solve it, but they're going to address the like, oh no, the world is actually like real fucked. This is how, this is why. Because even like or Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't necessarily address. They addressed like a thing about that and kind of showed the falling out of everyone returning. But I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to get a full on like, this is actually what happened. I don't know where you cover that.
It is interesting that the bonus scene of Black Widow is basically saying that the world is currently unaware of what the Avengers did to save the world. Yet at the same time, there's like art everywhere of Iron Man being like, we miss you, bro. And so I'm really like, like the whole premise is like, you got to go kill Clint because he's the one who killed Natasha. But it's like, wouldn't that story be out there that like she gave her life to save?
There'd be some sort of propaganda, right? Like someone would try to use that. Yeah.
Wouldn't someone be talking about that? And says like, this is the guy, you got to go kill him. It's like, wait, I'd be like, lady, do you read the newspapers? What are you talking about? I don't know. I'm ready for the whole like, it wasn't me who killed her.
It was
herself.
It's also like, I want to see a conversation in the next Spider-Man movie of like some street vendor talking about how much of an asshole Thanos is, right? And just be like, Thanos just killed half the universe. That guy's fucked up. Right? Like they'd be saying something about him.
There goes half my customers. What a rough 5 years that was, eh?
They gotta say, like, I don't know. They have to know something happened, right? For half the population just to get blipped. That doesn't go not explained, right? For the general population.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine if one day our show is so relevant that's us, like we are the references, the MCU crew being like, so this Thanos guy's blipped away half of the universe. There goes half my subscribers.
There'd be podcasts about that, right? Like there would be so much shit about it. Like CNN would have a field day. Fox News would go crazy, right? Like I would have.
And there would be people like out there podcasts that are like, well, is the snap?
Did it really happen?
And based off of like what the Captain America and Winter Soldier did, I would 100% believe that there would be people that are like, listen, before the snap, I couldn't afford a house in the Bay Area. Now, all my problems are solved.
Yeah.
There would be those spicy takes on Twitter.
The government got rid of half the population. It was just population killing. We had to save the planet.
Former owners are back, and they want to take their house back. But I've been in it for 5 years, so whose house really is it? And that would be like a thing that would happen frequently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd love to just see that.
But they should get squatters' rights.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because the snap is like, I don't think anyone knows, I guess that is the whole point of the plot that wasn't really going anywhere in Falcon Winter Soldier.
They should just announce a show that weren't they like doing, or maybe that got canceled. I thought that there was like an ABC show or something that was about the group that like cleans up after heroes, and it was supposed to be like canonical, but maybe that was a DC show and not a Marvel show.
I don't know.
Am I making that up, chat? Or was that a real, or that was canceled years ago? Oh, okay. Apparently that's called Damage Control. It was real.
There is, we have some look into that world from the first Spider-Man movie, right? Like
right.
We have some look into, yeah. And so clearly it's going on, and clearly there are people who are part of that sort of group going around and contractors doing stuff. And, if anything, it's making great supervillains. I'm curious to see what they do with that stuff. But it feels like they have very quickly decided, like, we're not going to really talk about that much, and we're going to move on to a multiverse. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I guess it would be a little bit too real. Anyways, here is the updated timeline that is there a credit to who made this? I'm not seeing one. It was on the Marvel Studios subreddit. I don't have a credit off the top of my head, but this is where we're headed. This is where we're going. Also, there's a key here. We got, if it's yellow, it's a movie. It's a Disney series. It's green. It's Disney Plus movie. If it's pink, and if it's orange, it's been released or has already aired.
I thought when you said updated timeline, I honestly thought you meant like because of the events of Loki. I was like, oh, was there like a timeline? You meant like for releases? Okay.
Yeah. No, that's impossible to see where we go. So this is kind of where we're at coming up. So I can't believe I didn't realize Shang-Chi was that soon.
Yeah,
that's soon.
That's wild.
Is that getting a Disney Plus thing, or have they not said? Like how Black Widow had?
I don't know. What's more interesting is that Miss Marvel is still late 2021 with no information.
They finished filming, or they were filming in New York recently. A couple of weeks back, we definitely covered that, but I don't remember if that was finished filming or I think it was the photos had leaked of her outfit is what happened. So I don't think they're finished filming yet.
It is like, it's crazy to think that, and maybe this is just because of 2020 being what it was. And, maybe I've forgotten how Marvel advertises, but I feel like we were inundated with WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, and Black Widow stuff for like ever.
Yeah.
And only recently they came out with like a really neat what if trailer. Shang-Chi had its trailer. Eternals had a trailer. There hasn't been like a huge push for stuff. And then even, December 17th, we haven't even had like a Spider-Man thing.
Yeah. I really wonder when that's going to hit. I think that's definitely been the buzz recently on anytime there's anything about MCU that's trending. it immediately turns into, all right, this is the No Way Home trailer. Right? This is when they're going to drop it. Oh no, this is they're going to drop it during the Olympics opening ceremony. It's going to be blah, 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 right? Everyone's fiending for whatever that trailer looks like. I think now that we're in post episode 6 of Loki, that they could potentially talk about things that may or may not be happening in that film, and people wouldn't be like completely surprised. Or they might just like hold all of that closely guarded and not say anything about what is the real thing going on in that film. Or they could also wait for Shang-Chi, right? Of whatever happens there. I don't really know if we're going to, I feel like that movie's just going to be like an origin story movie. Not trying to discredit it or anything, but I don't know if we're going to get any like MCU changing, outcomes from that whole film, apart from maybe just a little bit of lore about like how it all works. A lot
of world building.
Yeah, building and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
definitely like Madripoor stuff and you know, some of the more interesting elements of the, what's the right word? The earthly supernatural. Is that the right, like, you know, the fact that like on Earth there's crazy stuff and it isn't just in space, like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could be. Then if I scroll down here, we can kind of see where everything else is going. This is obviously the thing that I'm probably the most hyped for. Funny enough, is the Fantastic Four stuff.
Yeah.
Also, just want to see what the hell this actually is. With the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. That's going to be a little wild. And also maybe Moon Knight, because I think that could also be... Moon Knight's going to be like opening a completely different side of the MCU, I feel, ultimately. So, we'll see how that all goes. Wait, what is this?
Secret Invasion a movie?
It's a Disney Plus show.
Gotcha.
I believe.
And Ironheart is Disney Plus. All the rest of these are Disney Plus then.
Anything with green over it is Disney Plus, yeah. Green outline. There's probably going to be some other stuff too that gets added to this over time, right?
Loki season 2.
Wait, we have to wait 2 years until Loki?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That is some Game of Thrones scheduling. It was like the next season will be in 5 years. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Just cryo freeze me until then. What do we even live for in the meantime?
Deadpool 3. Man, what? We really did lose a year. Like the whole year is just gone. Yeah. You can definitely tell they're like, cram it all in. We got stories to tell. 8 things a year.
It'll be interesting to see, you know, when 2023 rolls around, if people have hit, because I think everyone, when even when Endgame came out, people were like, all right, this is it. There's too much Marvel. I can't watch any more Marvel. And then because of COVID, they took like this giant break, and then WandaVision came back, and everyone's like, I'm back in. This is great. We need more movies. We need everything. We need it all. But that's honestly like so much. That's just an absurd amount of stuff that's coming out between now and 2023. We'll see if it happens. I don't know.
So does that mean the show is going to keep going from now until 2023?
Yeah.
Are you saying y'all want to hang out with me till 2023?
I mean, Bronze doesn't speak for the show. Okay. All right.
Oh, right. I can easily be. You're right.
Bronze speaks for herself and herself only. Obviously.
You have been approached by several Muppets to replace you.
Hopefully it's one of the good ones. Hopefully it's not like one of those crappy Muppets. I don't know.
What's the crappy Muppet?
Yeah, who's the crappy Muppet?
You know that one that looks like a tweaker? You know, the one that's like
is
a
that
tiny
Beaker?
Like shrimp. No, he looks like a shrimp.
Oh, that's one of the best ones.
I know.
I'm blanking on his name though. Oh, that's Pepe the King Prawn.
He's gonna replace me.
But you just said he sucks.
Yeah, I'm just jealous.
I think if we got a Muppet that would replace Jesse, it would be Beaker.
Beaker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beaker?
Yeah.
What would he add to the conversation?
I don't know.
You're saying meeps?
Right?
Yeah.
You're saying that's better.
Yeah. Be a bunch of meeps. I would want Gonzo to replace me. I would want Gonzo to take my spot. Bronze, who takes your spot?
Miss Piggy. I've been obsessed with her forever.
Okay. All right.
Oh, Kirby.
I feel like she would have to be the host of the show then. I feel like the hosting duties would go to Miss. Like there's no way that she would agree to the contract.
It wouldn't start that way, but it would end up that way.
Yeah. That's accurate.
She's so bossy. She would talk
true.
over everyone.
That's true.
And most of it would be about how she has a crush on some Marvel character.
Loki, because of all the green. Right.
Yep. It would be Loki.
Oh, yeah.
It would be Loki. Although.
Loki.
It's very good. It's very good. Good job.
Actually a really good impression.
How long have you worked on your Miss Piggy? Jesse Cox.
I mean, long enough to say "Oh Loki," and that's pretty much it. That's the extent of my Miss.
I feel like Jesse just sits there at his house in front of his fish mints. They're on his coffee table, and he's like, "Miss Piggy meets Loki." What was that sound like?
You have no clue how almost accurate that is. I will walk around my house and just talk to myself.
It's great.
I'm talking to no one but me. And so I always feel awkward because I will if anyone's over, I'll just be in another room whistling. And people be like, "What's going on?" I'm like, just whistling. And they're like, "Oh, okay." I'm not crazy. I just keep myself entertained.
Yeah.
So, single child syndrome. I got to keep myself entertained.
Before we jump into Loki episode 6, did that Simpsons thing happen? Did anyone watch that? The Loki Simpsons crossover?
Oh, I don't keep up with the Simpsons.
It was called The Good, the Bart, and the Loki was the name of it. It was an animated short film based on the television series The Simpsons, with Loki in it. Chat, it was 5 minutes and it was really lame. Okay. We're getting mixed. People said it was all right. People said it was entertaining.
Chat.
What was that, Bronze?
I said, thank you, chat, for, helping us stay on top of stuff.
Yeah. I said it was all right. I too have not watched the Simpsons episode. I haven't seen an episode of the recent Simpsons in 15 years, most likely. It's been a long, long time. It was what if the Simpsons were Avengers? That's kind of it. Oh, okay.
This just shows the last time I was really invested in the Simpsons versus when I last watched.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that people age. So hearing all the voices of new stuff versus old stuff is jarring because it's very obvious the same voice actor, but it's a little raspier, a little older, and you're like, I don't like this. You're like, I want to go back to 1994.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, I have not heard what Homer sounds like, but I've definitely read things about Dan Castellaneta, I guess is how I'll go with that name. And his voice just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and being like a raspier Homer over the years.
Same thing with Marge. Same thing with all the other characters. Lisa. Everyone they just sound older because they are older. And it's the show's been going on for literally almost my entire life.
Yeah,
I think there's about 10 years maybe where the show wasn't on.
Yeah,
that's some great job security.
Yeah,
totally.
But it's also there's never been anything like it where it's ever gone on that long, and so you're watching these characters stay the exact same age, but the actors age up is wild. And so newer content is definitely, for me, it's you're so old now, Jesse. I remember watching this. I remember in 6th grade talking about The Simpsons and my social studies teacher being like, "Don't watch that. That's trash."
It was the South Park of its time. Yeah.
Pretty much. Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was very upset that I liked The Simpsons. She's like, "That's a trash show with bad morals." I was like,
okay. To be honest, I mean, there are probably people that are younger than the show is in terms of length. It debuted December 17th, 1989.
Yep,
I mean, that's
89.
almost the first time that The Simpsons appeared was April 19th, 1987. So
Tracy Ullman show.
Yeah.
I watched that too. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Old AF.
God, I was what a wee lad I was. I can't believe
I was
that's
a year
the number
old
I have.
at that point. Well, no, I was like eight months old at that point. I was very young. Yeah.
I was, you know what? That's pretty great.
I mean, as much as people joke about no one watching it anymore, it's still going. So I'm assuming someone's watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets into this idea of like, well, when do you actually like say, when does that show actually end?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's now the oldest running show by a long margin. But when do you actually stop it?
But it's also one of those shows where I don't know if this is true, but I have to imagine it still is. During its height, Bart Simpson was more recognizable than Mickey Mouse, like around the world.
Yeah.
Is that real? I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Like people would the whole all the Bart. I was about to say a Bart Simpson catchphrase, but I can't. Don't have a cow, man. Like that was on T-shirts everywhere around the world. He was, that character is very, very popular. And so I can understand. Like Homer is everyone knows Homer Simpson. Although I'd question younger people, like younger generations.
I was going to say, I wonder, because even though I was never super into The Simpsons, when I go to Universal Studios, I'm not surprised that there is a Simpsons section of the park because I understand how huge it was.
Yeah.
I wonder if Gen Z
has no idea.
Why are they here? I wonder if they're confused because, it's kind of, and I'm also wondering if Gen Z does have a show that's that's controversial. I'm curious, chat, if any of you are young enough to sound off. Because as a later millennial than JP and Jesse, I do agree with JP that for me, it was South Park. I remember watching South Park on the family TV when I was a kid. It was probably 7, 6 or 7. And the Mr. Hanky episode came on.
Yep.
And that, for some reason, was my father's breaking point. I don't know what it was, but he was like, "This is stupid."
It was the poo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of the singing poo. He was like, "What is this garbage? This is why I send you to school. You're going to watch this bullshit." And I remember, he banned that. That was the only
That was the
show.
banning of it?
He used to let us watch violent movies. My dad would never ban anything. It was the only show he banned because he thought it was so fucking stupid. He was like, "Not in my house. That's a singing poop. Not on my TV." And me and my brother just had to respect it. I don't know what it was about that. It was the first time I saw him legitimately get mad.
Yeah. I don't know if I had a show that was like that for me.
I feel like generationally through the millennials, how there are elder millennials like myself, which by the way, I've been called the new term is geriatric millennial, which I just want to let you all know.
That's a little spicy. That's a little spicy right there. Let's
well, that's that
apparently
what I am. So let me get my
Zoomers
walker.
created that. All right.
Don't worry. I can still eat my pudding without having to mash it up first.
Pudding's pretty good. Wait, why would you mash up? Are we talking an English pudding?
If I eat the pudding straight out the cup, I have too hard of a poo. His name's Mr. Hanky. Anyway, but I feel like there's through the millennial generation, there are 3 time periods that you can judge when people were 11 or 12-ish.
Yeah.
The Simpsons, South Park, and then Family Guy.
Yeah, I guess Family Guy is one of those.
I mean, Family Guy is there was a time period where every kid who was 13 thought Family Guy was hilarious. And I clearly missed that. because Family Guy came out when I was like some point in high school, and so it was kind of like, oh, that's a show, but it wasn't like the thing that we were like, that baby's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know. But I feel like those are the three. You can always tell where you fall in that sort of generation of millennial based on which show was like the thing that you watched when you were 13-ish.
Right. Yeah. Someone in chat or maybe to answer Bron's question, like what is for Gen Z, what's the show that, they would hearken to or always remember to? I think we're just eventually going to get a theme park that's like Meme Land, right? We're just going to have like the meme roller coaster or some shit. And it's going to be, we're going to see like Drew Scanlon or something on the front of a roller coaster doing the surprised white guy face or some shit. It's eventually going to happen, right?
Maybe.
Gen Z, I think, had a lot of like
the Doge coaster
Disney shows. They had a lot of Disney shows that I don't know anything about, and they had a lot of
like Hannah Montana type shit, or later in that.
I would even say like, I think I don't know because I'm on the older end of millennial, but
I don't think Rick and Morty fits into the Gen Z. By the way, Chad, I don't think that's.
No, I think that's too.
That's
recent.
only for very intellectual adults. that enjoy.
I would. There's got to be some type of weird like comedy show that's animated, but I don't think it's like this is how
Adventure
I have no
Time.
clue.
Maybe
Adventure
I've never
Time?
seen Adventure Time.
I've heard very good things. Yeah.
I've heard good things too, but I've never watched it.
Yeah.
But everyone always tells me Bronze, Adventure Time, and what's the other one? The one with the gems.
Steven Universe.
Oh,
yeah,
I've also heard
everyone's
very
always
good
like,
things. Yeah.
Bronze, you have to watch Adventure Time and Steven Universe, and I'm like, I'm old. I haven't seen either.
Well, when we get married, we'll instead of going on a honeymoon, we'll just rent a cabin somewhere and watch all these shows. And I'm like, what? And I'm because I'll be super old at that point. I'll be like, would you like some cocoa, hun? And they'll be like, shut up, old man. And I'll be like, all right.
When are you gonna die so I can have all your money?
Jesus.
Pretty soon, I think. Now that I'm geriatric.
I heard you were geriatric and you're still hobbling around.
Oh, one of these days I'll be gone, and then you'll miss me, by God. Yeah, and I'll just like hobble around. And you'll be like, we should go skiing today. I'm like, I don't know if my hips can take it. You'll be like, that's why we should go. I'll be like, all right, for you, baby. And then you'll push me off a mountain at the end.
This is the worst sitcom ever.
Sitcom? I thought it was romance.
Be a rom-com.
The worst sitcom ever.
We're back to sitcom. You guys want to talk episode 6?
Yeah, Loki.
Yes.
Loki.
Where to begin? I think there was an exact text from Jesse that said, hold on. Oh, so I messaged Jesse and I just said, fuck, in all caps. And that's
true.
And he goes, I spoils. And I said, what? And he goes, no spoils.
I
spoils. Yeah, I just thought that was funny. And then about 3 hours passes and there's another text. And Jesse says, we are literally the smartest MCU podcast in the world.
True.
Are
Facts.
we?
Are we?
Are we the only people that predicted it? You know what's crazy, JP?
No, we're the smartest.
Are we allowed to talk spoilers now?
We're going into spoiler zone, chat. If you haven't seen episode 6 of Loki, by all means, please feel free to tune away. Mute us. Begin.
JP, when at the end of last MCU Crew, did we not put our bets on the exact same thing, that it was going to be He Who Remains with an allusion to Kang?
Yes. We literally said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe I said if Kang showed up, I would lose all of my shit. And That's pretty much. I mean, like everything that we said was like, yeah, no, this is what you got. You got like He Who Remains, An Allusion to Kang, and then it just also was Kang. You're like, okay,
well,
fantastic.
I mean, no, though, right? Because
it's technically Kang.
It's like a little bit of Ultimatus, or whatever.
It's like a Mortis.
Yeah, not Ultimatus. Yeah. I don't think that's a person. It's a little bit of
it sets up the fact that Kang is many people, which is true.
Yes,
which is like the whole point.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to say that like what we saw at the end was Kang, because Kang is
it was a variant of Kang
based off of what that dude said. Like Kang, for lack of a better word, is much more savage or warmongery than He Who Remains.
He was like, he was the nice guy Kang.
Yeah. But we did see
the other reason I'm insisting.
Yeah.
Listen, Jesse, the only reason I'm really pushing this that it was a different person, that not technically Kang, because if we're going by that logic, Loki kissed Loki, I can't do that right now. Okay?
No, I mean that's what Loki kissed a Loki.
Yeah, I think
no.
Why do you think this had such good ratings in like Alabama?
Let's be real here. This is 100, like I know that if you turn your brain off, it's like, oh, like Loki found love or something, but like that's
in a hopeless place.
Loki,
is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, yes. Cue the music, but
no, that's DMCA. But in my head, it's playing right now.
But like, what happens is it's bizarre. Like it's a bizarre. It's very like, and then Loki fell in love with himself, and then he smooched himself, and so that is, there you go. That's that happened.
Yeah,
you're like,
to me,
I accept it, but it's weird.
Yeah, I think. I'm interested because I know for Bronze, that was like the biggest moment in the episode for you, right? Like, or a big moment. Okay, because for me, it's like, I until you just brought it up, I had forgotten that happened.
What? Okay, so I know, like, that I'm being very girly right now, but for me, I get that opinions will vary. I've never felt like we had, for me, a proper love story in the MCU. I liked Tony and Pepper, but it didn't really click. Captain America and Peggy, it didn't really click. I'm gonna say something very controversial. WandaVision, the show made it better, but I still wasn't like,
still a little weird.
Oh, this is such a romantic show,
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel that way. I feel like the last episode of Loki for me was the first time I was like truly invested in the love story between two characters.
I'll agree with that as well. But for me, the idea that Kang exists,
I'm invested.
The idea that Kang exists overshadows like everything for me.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Like the other thing that I think was very unfortunate, and I don't want to take away from the subject of like the love story, but the fact that we knew Jonathan Majors was playing Kang the entire time, the first second he showed up on screen, I lost my shit. Like Aaron is like, why are you freaking out? Like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? And I had to like explain to her in real time, like, oh my fucking God, like this is actually like, this means so, it's fucking Reed Richards, like great grandson. Like that means Fantastic Four is probably real. Like that means all, like I had to explain everything to her in rapid succession just because the fact that he was there and like was a real entity. And so for me, that overshadowed like everything because it puts so much into like what phase 4 is going to be. Like Jonathan Majors could be playing like 10 different Kangs moving forward, ranging from like Iron Lad to Kang the Conqueror to, a billion different Kangs, all so many variants in so many different movies.
I want to, so it's something I noticed in this episode, and I feel like I can't, like, I love this episode, but I also feel like this episode it dropped a lot in order to become a preview of things to come, if that makes any sense. So like in episode 5, it was, hey, I'm Mobius. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna like burn down the TVA. And then it was like, hey, I'm Renslayer and I've got like stuff to handle. And I'm gonna like do a thing with B-52 or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
And like all these different things. And then all those storylines were immediately dropped. Or like even at the
they took a back seat for me mentally, 100%.
But like even plot wise, by the end, Renslayer like goes off, I assume because she's being called away to somewhere by by He Who Remains, but like we don't know. Like
she doesn't know
clue.
I don't think her and He Who Remains ever met, because that was always her goal, is like to also figure out who was behind all of this, but not necessarily to end it all. She just wanted to know like who was behind it all.
But like her plot cuts off. She walks through a portal and is done.
Yeah.
No more discussion about her story. Mobius is like, okay, I'm back. I'm gonna grab my fellow agent and we're gonna like do a thing. Except they don't do a thing. That story's cut off, and the next time we see them, they're like, we are a different timeline of people. And so like all that stuff stops. And so the basic focus of the entire episode is truly very narrow and very small. If you look at the episode, it is straight up just like the majority of the time, He Who Remains explaining plot elements to us. Like that is what's like, if you aren't invested in what's happening, I really want to know what people thought about this episode. Because for me, I'm like, oh, this is some juicy shit.
Right.
But like, if you're not into this world, all it was a dude talking to two other characters about his backstory.
Totally.
For the entire time. And
here's the other thing too. I saw a lot of this conversation on social media. Like for me, I thought Jonathan Majors like fucking just killed the acting in this episode. But for a lot of people, they were like, no, that was campy. Like I didn't really understand why the fuck this character would be like that type deal. So like for the both of you, like was he too campy? Did he absolutely kill the role? Like where do you guys fall?
He definitely went a different direction than I anticipated, but it made sense to me. Because as soon as he said, like, I'm tired, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this person has been living at the end of time, pulling all the strings, the architect of this massive system, like basically keeping time in order for who knows how long.
Yeah, like millions of years. To last
that long, you would have to be a little wacky. I think you would have to have some sense of humor and have to be a little wacky. Like he ultimately, from what we know, he made Miss Minutes. Like this person clearly has some kind of sense of humor. Why are we okay with Miss Minutes being the way she is? But like her creator is apparently supposed to be this straight man that just, plays everything intimidating into a T. And the other thing I liked about it is I think it really contrasts the way Thanos was, which totally. I think we need.
Yeah.
I don't really care about who wins in a fist fight versus Thanos or Kang. I've seen the same 3 comic book strips recycled on Twitter like 30 times this week. I'm going to be honest with y'all corny for that. Like the whole like, oh, well, Kang rips out Thanos' heart. And I mean, at one point, so did Drax, okay? At one point, so did Dr. Doom.
I mean, Squirrel Girl.
Who hasn't? Yeah, everyone's defeated Thanos, okay? I have in the comic book universe. It's really not a big deal. But I'm less interested in who's more powerful, Thanos or Kang. And I'm more interested in what makes them different and how they think and how they act, personality-wise, flavor. And just based off this iteration of Kang, this He Who Remains, I'm interested in seeing what the other ones are like. And I really like that they made the character just very different than, glorious purpose. I've got to do it myself. It falls to me. And instead being like, fam, I'm tired. If you want my job, please take it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, the remarkable thing for me and from an acting point of view and from a character point of view is like up until the point where he crosses the threshold, you have no idea if you like, just like Loki and Sylvie, you have no idea if you can trust him. You have no idea what the fuck, if he's saying is true, if he's just like saying all this to get them to goad them into going one direction or to making one decision. And the fact that he like was able to keep both the audience thinking that and not just the characters thinking that, where the audience is like, don't do it. It's more like, I don't don't know what the fuck they're gonna do, right? Like I don't know if he's telling the truth. I don't really know how this is gonna go. It was that I think was why it was so remarkable. And then when he crosses the threshold, and you're just like, wait a minute, like what the fuck is going on now? And he wasn't saying anything, and he was just like living and like not. You were just waiting to see what his next words were going to be at that point. I thought it was phenomenal. I absolutely cannot wait to see him more as different variants.
He definitely has that like very good villain thing of, you know, I've done terrible things, but for like a good reason. And, you know, you two come in here and you're like giving me crap for it, but like you are just as bad as me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I loved when he was like, grow up, Sylvie. I was like, oh,
that was the best line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the best line was when he sat there and didn't say anything. And he goes like, what are you so afraid of? And then he says, me. I was like, oh, fuck. Right? Like, it was like, oh shit. This is like they're doing this. This is a real thing. But there was a lot of great lines in that whole thing.
Yeah. And that's why I think, as a fan of all of this, you know, the MCU stuff, it was very much akin to the scene with Vision and Vision, where it was like, instead of like a crazy epic battle for a final episode, it's like, let's have a conversation about this. And I liked that these characters took the time to like talk and try to figure out each other, because they're, you know, before fighters, they're liars. And so you have two like prime liars, like trying to figure out if a guy is telling the truth.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, he totally is, but it's so insane what he's saying, which is why I think him coming off as being a little crazy is like, it works, because what he's saying is crazy. Like, I am here in like a castle at the end of time, and I've been here alone, keeping everything in check for you idiots.
Millions of years. Yeah.
And you come here trying to kill me, and I'm doing the work. Like, I would be just as upset as him. I'd be like, how dare you? Like, just do the work yourself if you want to. Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of love that I don't trust him at all. I don't know what.
I think he had some truths, but not everything.
I think they were half veiled truths.
We got a very quick origin story too about who he is, which I thought was like, I was
well
like, oh my fucking God, I can't, this is real. Like, I can't believe they're
they
talking
straight up
about
were like,
this.
in the 31st century, I was like, oh my God, they're just doing
they're just fucking doing it, dude.
If he would have been like, my great 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 grandfather Reed Richards,
yeah, if
I
they
said
like that, I would have turned the show off. I would have just been like, I'm done. I can't see this shit.
But if we look at this critically, 2 minutes before they meet him, Miss Minutes approaches them and says, at any point, I can put you at any point in time that you like with everything you want.
Right.
Like, is that not like a last minute? Like, why would that happen if he wasn't still manipulating them on some level? Like, he dangled this in front of their head or in front of their faces almost to like test them. Almost to see if they were like worthy of the mantle or something like that. Like, I think there's like,
I think that might have happened in a different version, right? They might have said like, okay, great. And then that ends their, like, this is the one true timeline where they have everything set in stone to where they say, no, we don't want that. We want to see who's at the top of this.
We still never saw that scene where Loki is standing.
We never saw it
in front of like all those people in Asgard.
Yeah, we never saw it.
Never in the show.
Yeah. I was looking for it the entire time because I thought
that was going to be an end credit thing.
I thought like, exactly what Bronze was just saying, where they're going to be like, well, why don't you show us what it could look like? And then they were going to do like a memory flash to like Loki, you know, that type of stuff. And Sylvie's like at his side or the ruler of it all or whatever. I thought they were going to use it that way.
It definitely felt like a One Ring type of thing where it's like, you know, I'm going to try to test you and see like, you know, if you, and to me, even the last question was a test because I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying he tells like, he obfuscates a lot. He tells like half truth, you know, with everything. Because even like at the end when he's saying like, oh, well then you can rule the timeline and you kill me. I'm tired and you can take this over. But never really says like what that would entail. Or, you know, like he just kind of constantly leaves it like wibbly wobbly. And I don't know. I found that to be interesting because I feel like like I said, I think they did a really good job distinguishing him from Thanos right out of the gate because he's not like, I'm the bad guy. Like you're weak, I'm strong, y'all's a bunch of bitches, and I'm gonna show you what's what.
Totally.
Instead, he's like, he almost downplays how terrible he is until he says he's afraid of himself.
Right.
Like he downplays this version of himself and hypes up the other versions of himself.
Well, everyone in that room was terrible, right? Like he even says as such, like we're all genocidal maniacs in one point or the other, which I thought was great.
If his character is less crazy and more afraid, like one of the things I took away is that the thing he was lying about was knowing everything. Like I felt like his character obviously was afraid of himself. And so he was that guy who was like, I'm trying to hold this thing together so I don't have to deal with the bad versions of me. But all the other things he was talking about are not necessarily truths. They're just like, these are things I'm going to tell you because I hope that you'll understand if I have to convince you that what I'm doing is right. But like, the reasons I'm doing it is because I'm just terrified of myself and like, this is the best solution I've come up with. Like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And because he clearly at the end was just like, I don't even know what's going to happen. Like we've crossed the threshold. So, I don't know that he even knew that Loki was like, we had all these thoughts about like, oh, well, this is like Loki's going, like, this is some sort of destiny thing. I just think he was surprised they showed up and he was like, oh,
no, I don't.
All right. Hey.
Yeah. I don't think he was surprised. I think he was, the only thing he lied about was the fact that the threshold moment, like he knew everything up until that exact point. I think everything else he was truthful about.
I don't know that he did. I don't know that he knew everything. I know he says he did. And he said like, oh yeah, I know how this is going to play out. But like, I don't know that he did. I felt like, maybe that's a little cockiness. I don't know.
I think, I mean, with what Bronze was saying in the sense that they were like offered an option, I think that in a lot of ways, the timeline, the like royal timeline was the best timeline because it delayed all of this for as long as it did. And he didn't know, he couldn't see past the point because the decision wasn't on him and the decision hasn't happened yet, right? Like that was the quote end of whatever technology he could see to do it. Cause he wasn't the one that was going to cause the decision to occur or anything like that. It was going to be up to Sylvie and Loki on what was going to happen. So I think there's probably, thousands upon thousands of ways that they get to that citadel or castle or whatever. And they're like, actually, no, we're good. We'll go ahead and just like go here. And then they fuck off and rule the world or rule New York or rule whatever. Right. And the fact that it got to that point, it crosses the threshold and he was like, I lied. I don't know what's about to happen. That was when I was like, holy shit.
He's still pulling the strings. Because
everything up into that point. Yeah.
Well, no, because he sends Miss Minutes to go tell Ravonna there's more important places for you to be.
Did that happen before or after though? That might have been just a safeguard.
That was
But
before.
I mean, he's like setting plans in motion, not even knowing, like I feel like that's just in case skis,
Maybe, yeah.
I feel like that's like, I don't know how this is going to go. They're in my citadel. I'm going to send my minion as part of this like contingency. Because we don't know where she's going.
Right.
I mean, in the comics, Ravonna and, Kang end up together. Maybe this is how. Maybe she falls in love with him. I think she's going to be like his agent in a lot of ways because we don't know where he sent her. A variance
agent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't know where he sent her.
That's true.
I'm not like a pro writer, but I feel like this is a broadcasted move that I'm down for. It screams season 2 Loki. The only person that isn't time changed is Renslayer. And so Loki's only ally in getting out of the new TVA is Renslayer.
Well, that's what it seems like Sylvie to me as well. We don't know what the fuck is going on with Sylvie, right?
That's true.
She's stuck at the end of time, I would imagine.
Who had the chronometer or whatever? Was that Loki that had it?
No, she pushed him back through. She has it.
Oh, she has it. So she can get out of there.
Yeah. I think, if anything, that is she is, I would say, the villain of season 2. I'm going to put it out there. They're doing the heartbreak Loki thing. I think she's the baddie.
I think it's I really feel that the next set of movies are all going to be so fucking crazy that they're going to have to be mentioned or shown or something like that, because there's no way that they continue the next set of movies and like it's not impacted by what just happened. Unless it's just a complete different reality or a complete different like multiverse.
They segmented it again. They did the same thing they did with the other two shows, where this show, you don't need to know anything about the stuff that happened in Loki to have Kang show up, because you can reintroduce Kang the Conqueror in
a version of him. Yeah,
in the movies, and you don't need to know anything from the TV show. Marvel's doing the same thing they've always done. And so, this whole backstory about like, oh, there are other versions of me and all these different things, like it's unnecessary for the movies. So the whole Loki Sylvie thing doesn't have to happen in the movies.
Yeah, I mean, so what do we have next? Shang-Chi, I don't think maybe that could be a different thing, because there is like, why the fuck is Wong fighting Abomination? Maybe that's just
I feel like that's an overthinking situation.
Is it?
I'm almost certain it's going to be not nearly as complicated as you think. I think it's going to be like it exists for a connector to other Marvel properties, and it's like, hey, this is kind of cool. So they can just
pick and pull it.
Yeah, there's going to be a reason for it, and probably it's like Wong is looking for something, who knows what, and he's in what looks to be Madripoor, and then like Abomination's there because that's the connector to Thunderbolts. And, there's going to be like things like that sprinkled for the rest of
Phase 4 and 5. Yeah.
Phase 4. Yeah. I'm convinced of that. And then I feel like Shang-Chi's kind of standalone-y.
Yeah. I mean,
still don't know where he fits into the rest of the MCU, the way they're telling stories. Like, I don't know where in the rest of Phase 4 he shows up and is like, I'm here to help. I still don't know what that's going to be like. I have no clue.
Do we know who the bad guy is in Eternals yet? Is there any way that it could be Ramatut, or is it going to be like some deviant?
That's a great question.
Because what if it was just Ramatut there? What if it was Kang as Ramatut?
Here's the thing: if that was the case, that would be incredible.
It'd be insane.
That'd be so wild if it was like, yes, I'm the version of me who was stuck back in time.
Yeah,
like that would be wild.
Yeah,
I'm convinced that story is 100% the introduction of Jon Snow as an MCU character. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
his character is going to be the big takeaway from that movie, because then he moving forward will be a part of everything else, is what I assume is going to happen.
Yeah. I think that they have definitely leaked like that it is some sort of deviant is the bad guy in that movie, but I'd love to see
Weird that we don't know who that. Have we not? Oh boy,
I think it's in there. I think it's been leaked. Let's see. Are you looking at IMDb? Also, do note that IMDb is community upvoted. Crow is the bad guy.
Most of the time, it is done by agents and stuff. So, I'm just saying. Agents be wanting their people on there. Who is the bad guy? Crow?
I think it's Crow. It's either Crow or like a group of deviants. Deviants are like the opposite. They're the foils to the Eternals for people that have never heard that.
I thought you meant sexual deviant. I was like, damn, take it.
Yeah, they're going to show up in the 21st century. They're just going to take all the sexual deviants.
Jesse lit up. Damn.
What can I say? This movie is filled with beautiful people, and you're like, and their villains are sexual deviants. And I'd be like, go on. Like, okay.
Salma Hayek and Kumail Nanjiani? Unfair. Very excited for it.
This is interesting.
They haven't really said on who it could be. Here's the thing. If in the next movies, if every bad guy is some variant of Kang, I'm super into that. I don't think that could be true in Spider-Man No Way Home. I think that's going to be like the rogue the Sinister Six.
The Sinister Six.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Sinister Six, but it's going to be like different dimension, like Sinister Six, in terms of who will be there. And then...
Which is why we'll have the different dimension Spider-Man.
Yeah. But like...
Which is exciting.
It's very exciting, yeah. Yeah, if that all turns out to be 100% real and true. The other thing that I absolutely loved from this entire thing is after the fact, going on Twitter and reading and seeing everyone's like Doctor Strange memes of like Doctor Strange seeing the multiverse or seeing the timeline after all this shit happened. That was just, those memes were just always hilarious. They were just 10 out of 10. Jesse, you stumbled upon something.
I did. And I can't. Boy, so this is, I'll link this to y'all, as I was like, I've heard nothing about the villain for Eternals. Not one bit. And that always worries me when you don't know who the villain is in the movie, because it means they're probably in it for like 2 minutes. And so that I hate when like a superhero movie has a lame villain.
Yeah.
It always upsets me. I was thrilled that they gave He Who Remains a whole episode to just vamp.
Totally.
Because I love when a villain gets time to just like, here's why I'm a villain, bitches. I love that stuff. I loved that, Infinity War was literally a Thanos movie, right? I love that stuff. And so I'm worried. I was worried because I did not hear jack about Crow. And then I was like, all right, so what does, do we know anything about Crow? And literally like, yeah, here you go. There's a toy that exists. And I'm like, this looks like some booty ass early 2000s comic book movie stuff. I don't know that I like this.
I don't know if I want to show that as well. You're right, though. It does look a little bit odd.
It does look super odd, and not in
looks
like a cool way.
Like the Todd McFarlane Spawn toy line. You're right, like early 2000 plastic.
Yeah, it doesn't look cool like at all. And I'm so upset. Like if you want to know what we're talking about, literally just Google Eternals Crow and then click images.
Yeah.
And you'll see what Crow looked like in the comics, which by the way, Crow in the comics has like a lot of cool looks versus what Crow in the movie looks like. And I'm hoping that's not accurate. I'm hoping it's fake, but like a toy exists already. So I don't know. He does not look cool at all. he looks super lame. Yeah.
It looks a little silly. But then like Multiverse of Madness, to continue down the line, I think that 100% has to be like WandaVision plus this is the cause of just like so much fucking nonsense for Doctor Strange. It's also exciting too if that movie potentially turns into Doctor Strange, Wanda, and Loki like teaming up to be like this trio of fucking badass wizards fighting who knows what. Something that like the timeline that Kang, or rather that like Loki unleashed like Shuma Gorath or whatever, or if it goes like them trying to actually like correct some sense of what's happened. But it also then questions like, is this going to have any impact on Thor Love and Thunder? Right? Like, I don't know what it could actually impact in that.
It'll impact everyone, and that Shuma exists.
Shuma Gorath exists
in the MCU. I'm so excited. You have no idea how ridiculous that is. I love the idea of Shuma showing up and being like, I'm an eyeball with tentacles. I'm 1,000,000% in. I hope that happens.
Yeah.
What a great moment that would be for humanity.
I think it would be cool.
All of us together.
I'm still living in the afterglow of the fact that like they have straight up put Kang into the MCU. At this point, that would be like cherry on top for me if they go that route. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe. Someone in chat was saying that Marvel has started to shift how important Loki was. And I don't know if it's just like marketing or if it's actually real, but they did tweet on the 15th after the final episode aired, or the day of the final episode airing. The future of the MCU has changed forever. All episodes of Marvel Studios Loki are now streaming on Disney+. So even they're kind of like potentially setting expectations for what this actually means for the greater MCU storytelling. I just don't know to what extent.
We saw the Spider-Man. So do you have that timeline again? The map?
This?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So in order of operations, we've seen, so if just ignoring Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Miss Marvel for a hot minute, even though I'm sure they're lovely, ignoring them for a hot minute,
sure.
Moving on to Spider-Man, we've seen toys from Spider-Man.
Right.
And those toys straight up have Spider-Man with he's
got Doctor Strange shit.
Doctor Strange abilities.
Yeah.
So if we're to make assumptions based on the things that have come into, and now there's different timelines and everyone's talking about Spider-Man, different timelines, it feels like the way they'll handle it in Spider-Man No Way Home is the only person who can help resolve this multiple baddies from different dimensions and all this stuff. Doctor Strange has to show up in Spider-Man, right? He has to. So if Doctor Strange is in Spider-Man, then that is a continuation into Multiverse of Madness, because that's probably Spider-Man is Doctor Strange walking in with the pizzas and the room is on fire.
Totally. Yeah.
Right? That, it's him being what? And so I imagine Multiverse of Madness is the whole him trying to solve everything, right? He knows it's happening and now he has to resolve it. And then I don't know if that happens, but what I do know is that because that leads immediately into Thor Love and Thunder a few months later, I understand now why Taika Waititi was it's the craziest thing I've ever made. I get it now. I understand completely how insane that's going to be.
It does make me think, though, that maybe Thor Love and Thunder is somewhat of a palate cleanser for the craziness of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But now that you reminded me of what Taika's comments were that we talked about last week, maybe it's not. Maybe that's just fucking when shit, it just starts getting crazy. It goes completely bananas.
Yeah, if they talk about I think we have made assumptions of what that plot is going to be, right? It's Jane gets, Mjolnir and is whatever becomes Thor, but this has to be some some variant stuff, right? This is. I'm starting to think that
Do you think the world's just changed and it's just Jane Thor instead of Hulk Thor?
No, I just think there's
Thor.
I just think there's a possibility of Jane Thor. The reason why both can exist is because it's multiple realities.
Right.
Just I would at this point, if they haven't seen the love for alligator crocodile Loki,
totally.
If they don't throw in Throg into this thing, I'm telling you, this is going to be wild. I can understand that they can, because it's going to be because even the hammer in our universe is gone. It was destroyed. So, how does Jane become Thor?
Yeah.
It was remade?
Remade by the end of Endgame. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Captain America had it. Remember? He spun he had the hammer.
No, but then he took it back in time. The last scene, he took it back in time.
Did he? Oh, he definitely did take it back in time.
Yeah,
he still
it no longer exists. It no longer exists in our timeline. It was a past hammer.
Oh, that was the past hammer. And he went to go set it back to give it to Thor.
Yeah,
right.
So how does she?
Yeah, so he has the axe now.
How does she have the hammer? Yeah.
So how does she? So it has to be it has to be a variant, right? And that could explain why it's crazy, and also super fun for Thor to see Jane and Jane to be oh, I'm Thor. I think that's a super fun thing. And a way to bring her back that isn't just I'm Jane the scientist. I have no clue. That's why he said it's crazy.
That'd be real. I'm excited for that if that's the case, and it seems like it has to be, because you're right. They don't have there is no, at least in the canonical MCU that we know, in the multiverse that we know, or the universe that we know, it doesn't exist anymore. It got shattered by Hela. So they got to get it from somewhere. And I don't think they're going to spend a shit ton of the film being we got to rebuild this mythical hammer. Might just be like,
well,
Thane
we don't even need the
Jane popping up with a hammer.
Now that I'm thinking about it, they spent so much effort into establishing how cool the new weapon is. I mean, Groot's arm is the handle.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Totally. And he'll probably just keep that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But that would be wild if the movie starts and it's like it's everyone saying like we need Thor, blah 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 blah. And then like Thor finally shows up and it's just Jane Foster. And the audience is like, what the fuck? Right? Like,
but this also brings up a crazy point of then look what happens after. So you can see there's sort of like an arc, right? There's like the multiverse arc happening right now.
Yeah.
And you can see that going on, but then immediately after is Wakanda Forever. So unless that has a multiverse element, I don't know that that's going to, honestly. And then the Marvels, I don't see that being multiversey. And then She-Hulk, I don't see how that's multiversey. Moon Knight doesn't seem very multiversey. But then Quantumania, suddenly we're like back in it.
Right.
Kind of.
They might just take like a break. Like this stuff all might happen timeline-wise before Loki ends, right? And then we jump back into it with Quantumania. And Quantumania is also going to be real weird because we that was the first announced thing of like Kang's going to be the bad guy. But I feel like Quantumania is going to be them stumbling upon the like TVA's headquarters in the Quantumverse. Like I think that theory that we had comes true in that movie. And Paul Rudd finds it and he's like, what the fuck is this? And then Kang shows up and then like that whole starts to unravel.
Do you think they're going to do one of those self-fulfilling prophecy things? Like where it's like in Quantumania, we are told, hey, the reason why I'm so smart and so important and so all these different things is that you should know this person. His name's Reed Richards, and he's very important to your timeline. And like he was my, ancestor.
Yeah.
And I've been in science ever since. I like love this guy. He's incredible. And of course it's going to be like, who? And then 2 movies later, it's like, oh hey, Fantastic Four. This is Reed Richards. And now we have like, are they going to do it like a intro story about their? I have no idea. I don't
know what Fantastic Four looks like.
There are no rules.
Yeah.
There are no rules anymore. If anything can show up from any timeline, there's no rules.
I mean, to be honest, like I think that one way that they get the X-Men back is to have the original X-Men from the movies show up. Like, there's already been talks about Hugh Jackman and Kevin Feige like wanting to work together, right? And
that is 100%.
They just got to figure it out.
100% Deadpool.
But even then, if it's a goof, it could be like Deadpool could just be like, "Oh yeah, it's the multiverse." Wink, and then like that's enough to
yeah, they'll do that for sure,
right?
For sure, that's 100. That is, they're like, look, it's Deadpool 3. Let's go all out. Let's put Wolverine and Dead. They're 200% doing that.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen for sure.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe any other version where it's like, yeah, and then the X-Men are back and Hugh Jackman plays Wolverine again. If that happened, that would be insane. It wouldn't make any sense at all.
Didn't he say that like he wants to never be that fit again?
Yeah, but that was 2 years ago.
I remember in an interview.
Right?
I know, now he probably misses
Times change.
Times change. Like, multiverses happen.
I don't want to. I think like an old washed up Wolverine would be great in Deadpool, but I can't see him committing to like several Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Like, that just seems like a lot. Like
it'd be a lot for sure.
That's my favorite comic, Fat Man Logan. Huge fan of that one.
Yep. Well, I just remember like in some interview he was saying like they're like, "What are you looking forward to the most?" And he was saying bread. I don't know, maybe I misremembered, but I remember him saying something like eating bread again. Because like the diets these guys go on for Marvel films are insane.
It's insane.
It's not normal.
Yeah.
Normal people don't live like that.
Right.
I remember when those photos were, surfacing of like Jason Momoa on vacation. People were like, "Oh, he's fat." I was like, "Hey, losers, that's what normal people's body looks like."
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nobody has shredded 6-pack abs all the time. That happens when you cut all refined sugar out of your diet and don't drink water. Like normal people have a little bit of bloat. Stop shaming them.
Yeah, that whole thing was stupid.
like maintaining that for years at a time, like I can't even imagine how annoying that that would be.
Yeah.
I can't fathom like how tired you would be at doing that for years on end.
Disney's much better off not discussing X-Men for a few years.
They said it's going to be a phase 5 thing.
Back with, like bring it back with new cast in like 2026 or something. Like where it's been enough time. Look, if Sony can do it with Spider-Man and people still buy in, bringing back a new X-Men cast, in 5 years from now is going to sit well with a lot of people. There will be a whole new class of actors. Like, every few years you see young Hollywood changes. And so there'll be a whole new group of actors, a whole new group of people who could take these roles on. People that we don't even know of, that we haven't even thought of yet, that are but a twinkle in our media eye.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's plenty of time for them to really cultivate that, especially considering they're like, yeah, we're making these things until, you're all dead and your grandkids are watching. So, I'm pretty sure Disney's in for the long haul.
That's why I don't think they would bring back the old actors, because to generate investment in them only to have them handed off would just be so much work for no reason.
It depends on how far down the like multiverse hole they want to go, I guess, at the end of the day. But you're kind of right from like a marketing perspective. It would, if you bring back like Halle Berry and all the OG X-Men, not only is that a lot of money and time, it's also like, remember Halle Berry? Well, we're not using her, but here she is. If you want to know what a variant of Storm looks like.
The accent Halle Berry or the non-accent Halle Berry? Which one shows up to play Storm?
Yeah. Maybe those are variants of one another. Maybe that's why there's the accent and non-accent.
I'm not going to lie. Fassbender as Magneto is
10 out of 10.
Something I'm very
Ian McKellen as Magneto is 10 out of 10. Magneto in general has had a great presence.
Yeah, we've been blessed with some good Magneto, even in less than stellar times where X-Men movies were just being fumbled. Magneto has never not.
But here's the thing:
Magneto is a great character across the board, and you don't have to be a genius to write a person who's like, "I do this for revenge." Like you don't have to be a genius to write that stuff. It's good.
It's insane for me to even consider, like, if you think about the current roster of the MCU and like ongoing characters, think about like those characters just having a conversation with a Magneto or a Professor X somewhere in the movies. And I think will probably break my brain to consider that. In the comics, it's like normal, but in the movies, that would just be wild to consider.
I mean, I think it's also because we're like looking at the version of X-Men we've seen, and could you imagine like the Fassbender from that amazing scene where he's talking to the Nazis in that bar,
right?
In Argentina, that's a great moment. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that scene. And he like stabs one of them in the hand and does like this amazing scene. That is so at odds with everything we have with the MCU. That is so dark. Him talking about how like, oh, my parents didn't have names. They were taken by bakers and butchers or whatever. When he's like, when they're like, oh, I was a baker, like that. He's like, that's so like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's so at odds.
They also, but Bronze, you're very right in not only that, but also now that you think about timelining stuff, much of the things that make Magneto cool also date Magneto. Like what makes his character who he is and why he doesn't deal with humans very well is because of, his past, but his past has a timestamp on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't know that we can have a young
Magneto.
I don't know that we can have a young Magneto in the current MCU.
We can't, because he's a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah.
So we kind of saw that with Isaiah Bradley. That's the closest we've gotten to something like a Magneto story. I loved how they handled the Isaiah Bradley storyline in Falcon and Winter Soldier, because it's like, we are living in a world where these atrocities happen, and so canonizing those, acknowledging that, like, even in the presence of superheroes, these things happened and they're horrible. I think that that's really freaking cool. I think that it's like I don't know. I think it gives a lot of like weight to why some characters, or how hard it is to be heroic, or how being the textbook version of heroic that we've seen thus far comes from privilege. Right. I think they did a really good job of showing that without saying, oh, Captain America's whack. But it's like, well, for Captain America, would Captain, is our version of Cap, is that what he would be if he had gone through what Isaiah went through?
Right.
Probably not.
The other someone in chat brought up an interesting point too. Like, now that Kang's on the table, what if there's a universe where, for whatever reason, like the Nazis won, and then that's where Magneto comes from? Is there's like a modern day Magneto that like is dealing with what's the Amazon show? The Man in the High Castle.
Man in the High Tower?
Yeah.
High Castle? Yeah.
Oh,
Man in the High Castle type deal. Or it's just like a straight up time displaced Magneto that just like pops up into our universe. I don't know. There's ways that they could bend around
but that's also like very confusing, because then
100%. That's where this is all going to get real weird, is how do you keep the common non-comic book person from getting confused? Because I think we're already there in a lot of ways, because I've had a ton of people reach out and be like, what the fuck? What is going on? Why is this a big deal? Why is this what should we do type deal? And I think they're already reaching that magnitude of being confusing, and it's only going to get worse.
The more you pull from like the multiverse, the more confusing it becomes.
Yeah.
Because then you also have to like come up with, okay, well then how does Professor X and how do they know each other? What is their backstory? Do we set up a backstory between them again? Everyone has kind of seen that. I mean, it's the same thing with what the MCU did good about the first Spider-Man movie, is it wasn't like, and now we have to watch Uncle Ben die again, right? Or like all that stuff. Like, it was like, hey, he's Spider-Man. We all know Spider-Man's origin. Yeah. Here's the Spider-Man story. And I think the more you start pulling from different realities, the more complicated it becomes to tell solid origin stories of different people and how they relate to each other. And it's hard to connect someone like, well, I'm from a different reality, so what I know is different from what you know, but we're like suddenly best friends who then become mortal enemies, right? Like the whole point of Magneto and Professor X is like, they're like opposed each other, but they're like,
they gotta work together type deal.
They talk to each other. They have actual conversations where it's like, I mean, literally the allegory is supposed to be Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Like that's the allegory in X-Men. So they're like they're supposed to be able to communicate with each other, but also they're opposed in their solutions of how they would deal with things. And so, to have them come from different realities would be very difficult to then get to that level of story. So look, different realities just makes things tougher. And I don't envy the writers having to create stories based off of insanity, like truly insane stuff.
I mean,
who knows?
It definitely does make it harder, but like, that's where we're headed, right? Like, that's where all this is going. They didn't just introduce Kang to stay in the same timeline, to stay in the same like universe or multiverse, right?
Right.
Well, and a lot of the source material they're pulling from just hand waves it away, right? Like we don't get into these long debates in the comics on how old Magneto or Wolverine technically are. Like,
sure.
I think comic book readers have just accepted, like, well, we just say, continuity, depending on the continuity. I think like we're like kind of built different because we don't have an actor associated. We don't have that type of visual component. So I've never gotten into the reads about, well, isn't Reed Richards like this old now? It's just one of those things where it's like, well, depending on the continuity, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, it doesn't matter, So, but trying to explain that with like movies is a lot harder, because how do you teach people to suspend disbelief, or don't worry about how old this actor is? Don't worry about the fact that Fassbender does not look like he was alive during, the Holocaust.
I mean,
don't worry about it.
In the movies, they had to straight up invent a de-aging technology so that we could see like Sam Jackson and Captain Marvel hanging out in the 90s, right? Like they had to make that believable through special effects. In the comics, you just kind of like draw a younger looking Sam Jackson or a younger looking Nick Cage. Not Nick. What the hell is his name? Who does Sam Jackson play in the Avengers? I'm blanking.
Nick Cage.
There you go. Not Nick Cage.
He plays Nick Cage.
Nick Cage.
It's Nick Cage.
He plays Nick Cage. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I got there. I didn't need
Nick
your help.
Fury. What a crazy name. Nick Cage would be a much better character.
Yeah, it's much more believable, at the end of the day. I don't know. I feel like Kang just by his mere existence and by his words and by the way that they're talking about this from a marketing perspective, I really don't know where they go from here. The next couple of shows and movies could just be completely ignoring him or just like full on the wall batshit crazy. I really don't know what they're going to do.
What's exciting and fun, even though I don't know they'll do it, Kang is a villain that is very Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
And that you can throw Kang in everything, kill Kang, and he can still show up next episode. Like that's the whole, like his whole goof is like, you may defeat me, but I'm everywhere, nerds. Bye. Right? Like he has that kind of goofiness to him as a character that I think can be done in a very creepy, very cool way as a villain that, you can take that like, I'll see you next episode, kids. And instead
that's
be
why
like,
it's great,
this guy,
dude.
This guy can't be killed. Like there's so many of him and each of them is like their own version of like bad guy. And so you may kill one bad guy, but he's like, I'm actually not even the worst bad guy. He'll be in like the cool Avengers movie. Exciting. See you later, nerds.
Yeah, that's why it's so exciting. And they've already set up the tagline of like, see you soon, right? Like the fact that he says that right when Sylvie kills him is like, that was the oh shit moment for me. Like, oh. And then you get to the end of the episode when like when Loki goes back to the TVA, it's a different TVA. He's just an analyst. They have no idea who he is. And it does like the Planet of the Apes pan over and you see the giant statue of like, Kang the Conqueror right there. I saw someone like colored in the actual statue and it looks very much like you would expect it to look.
Yeah. The armor was there and everything. Yeah, it looked like it, honest to God, looked like those terrible 60s drawings of like, if you make it purple and gray, like it was that. It was exactly that.
Yeah. And like, that's where they end. I was just like, this is fucking nuts. Like, I can't believe this is what's happening. Meanwhile, someone who's like not necessarily comic aligned or comic aware, my wife was just like, the fuck just happened? Right? Like, the fuck does that mean? And I think that was the same for like everyone else who doesn't necessarily know anything about Kang. And so therein lies the problem.
Kingy.
It's very
like there always has to. It was very Lich Kingy, like very World of Warcraft. Like there always has to be a Lich King. Somebody always has to sit on that throne. It felt that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, like the Kang stuff was all very cool, but we also kind of predicted it.
Yep.
What I didn't predict was, I don't know. To me, like I said, this was like a love story, and there was a lot of heartache in it for me because it's. So I remember talking about it during the episode where Loki gets put in that time loop. I was talking about how I think what caused the variant spike or that giant energy spike was like, we've never had a version of Loki that believes in himself or loves himself. Like at the core of the character, he is a little self-loathing, whether or not he admits it. And this persona he projects is a smokescreen for that. But ultimately, he's not very confident. He doesn't think he's all that. He does think he's weak. And everything he does is reflective of that,
Sure.
And when the first time he begins to fall for Sylvie, in some ways, is him finding redeemable qualities about himself or learning to love himself. Now, whether Sylvie is there yet or not has yet to be determined. But he goes out on this limb and dares to believe that a variant version of him, and maybe even by extension him himself, is worth loving, is not going to die alone. Because he says that. He says to Sif, yeah, I get it. I'm a, self-obsessed person that's destined to die alone, not worthy of anything. In loving Sylvie, he's basically kind of course correcting that, right? He's basically saying like, well, maybe I don't die alone. Maybe I don't have to. And then the episode before that, he says, I've backstabbed and hurt everyone I ever loved, right? So now he has this friend, Mobius, and he has this person, Sylvie. I get arguably it's him, but somebody that he cares about more than himself, all of these things. And in this last episode, he lost all of it. And that's when I said, when I was like, I'm going to try really hard not to cry during the next episode of MCU Crew, because to me, when he comes back and Mobius says, like, who are you?
He lost everything, yeah.
Burst out in tears. I was like, no, like, that's so sad. Like, he went out on a limb. Like, that took a lot of vulnerability, right? To be like, I'm going to trust this man. I'm going to be friends with this person. And like, even what he says to Sylvie, like, I don't care about all of this. I care about you, right? And he trusts her. And to be like backstabbed and kicked through a portal by him and go back to his only friend and have that friend not recognize him, I was like, my boy's going through it. My boy is going through it right now.
But do we know if, like, because what I took from that is he goes back, or he goes to a timeline, maybe not his timeline. So like somewhere out there, the Mobius from his timeline still exists, right? Or did it change that timeline because of the actions that occurred at the Citadel?
I don't think we'll know yet.
We're not gonna know for a while, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be what you're saying, because it would be a real cop-out story-wise to create like it. So I have many friends who are like hypercritical. They're Marvel fans, but they're also the people who are always like hypercritical of Marvel.
Sure.
And so one of my friends, when Loki first came out, was very, very upset that Loki even existed. He watched the first episode and was like, I hate that I sat through all these movies watching Loki's growth and change, only to now have to sit through a TV show doing the exact same thing. That was like his big
That
thing.
was episode 1, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, I think this is neat as hell. I'm very excited, but like I understand where he's coming from, as like he is that guy. Every time there's a thing, he is that guy where he's like, actually, this is what I don't like about this. And so what I think I would say that just from like storytelling standpoint, I agree with that statement at the end. If they have Mobius and Loki's relationship disappear after spending an entire, 6 episodes developing it, to then have to restart that for season 2, I think that's actually like really bad storytelling. And
it's annoying.
There has to be, there has to be like another version. Right. There has to be like another version of those two characters, because, and the reason why I think this is because if the timeline changed permanently, then Renslayer, wherever she went, it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
Because then she would have just been like caught up in the timeline again, in like the normal timeline. And so she now exists outside of the main timeline, which means because we saw all the branches, even in the past, there were branches, that the potential for there to be other timelines, and that our Loki was just sent to like, what was the original, but is now the wrong one.
Here's the thing though, that's a little mind breaky for me, is the TVA exists outside of time. So how did Loki return to a TVA that was altered by the actions that just happened?
Seems like a bunch of BS to me. Seems like the TVA was all lies. That's crazy.
Yeah. There's no other explanation for that. And it also makes you think like, well, then that potentially means that if the TVA is what it says it is, which if you're going by that logic, then there's infinite amounts of TVA who are all monitoring a shit ton of different timelines. Or was this like the catalyst moment? Was this the threshold where, because what happens at the end of that, it creates an infinite amount of TVAs from that point forward?
They're probably just all like, I'm trying to think of like a good analogy that everyone would kind of understand, but it's like they're all CIAs of different Kangs. if that makes any sense.
Well, then they're not very good because from what we see, the timeline branches.
Right.
So like the original TVA by He Who Remains works because we see that there is one fluid timeline.
He was the one that got it correct.
At the end, with Sylvie, they branch. So my first thought was also like, an alternate version of Mobius probably exists because recreating that friendship would be boring on camera. Still heartbreaking for Loki, though, because he doesn't know that.
Right.
So my point remains there, that he was vulnerable and all of that was ripped from him. But I do hope we have to assume that other version of Mobius exists because whatever this TVA is, they haven't been doing a very good job of pruning if we saw those branches at the end with Sylvie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like they're not doing a very good job. Maybe that's their purpose
is like maybe the dimensional war, instead of wrapping up in a nice bow, is like still going on, and these are kind of like these are the agents who are trying to snip the other timelines, and so instead of their purpose being like, oh, we're trying to squash it, it's literally like we are in a dimensional war right now, and we are the agents that like we have to go around. Who knows? Like we are in uncharted territory, and at the end of time, it's still Sylvie who's there, who like I think again, I feel like a season 2 has to be like, in Loki's mind, Sylvie is the villain because Sylvie betrayed him, right? And so like Loki's messed up, but Sylvie obviously isn't the villain. She's just going through some shit. So I feel like whatever the tension between them, I think it will be phenomenal for season 2. But like also she is an out of time person who realizes she by getting her revenge, totally screwed up. So I'm very curious what that means for her as a character. There's a lot of interesting things. I can't wait to see what they do.
I definitely agree with everything you just said. I'm getting hung up on the fact that like, are we really going to have 2 years and not have some inkling of like what's happening to Loki and the TVA between now, like not like
great question.
Like question. What if that's the case and it's just if it was just to unleash Kang onto the world, does that mean that like timeline wise, chronologically rewatching the MCU, that you watched Loki season 1 and then Loki season 2 right after, and like that somehow fixes the like Kang storyline? Or
bring up that timeline again really quickly, because
look at everything that's supposed to come out between now and then. Like here's Loki 2 season 2 right here. There's so much shit between now and then. There's so much shit.
I mean, but you have to feel like Spider-Man, I think somewhere, maybe I just read it in chat and I'm a crazy person, but I think somewhere it's supposed to be like Loki leading into Spider-Man leading into Multiverse of Madness. They're supposed to be like the 1, 2, 3 punch, right?
Yeah, that's supposed to be like a trio.
That makes sense. And then if you go up more, like the What If is just a one-off show. Shang-Chi is like its own standalone thing. Eternals is backstory stuff. Miss Marvel, it appears like is its own standalone thing.
Miss Marvel could be somewhat of like, they got to explain how Miss Marvel gets her powers. And I think that's going to be that's going to be what you take away from that show is there's something new that's obviously giving people powers, right?
But at least for the rest of the year, I don't think we're going to have any crazy Loki stuff for the rest of the year. Spider-Man potentially could get weird. Hawkeye is just going to be like Florence Pugh hunting down Hawkeye, which I'm like,
that's going to be more of the like Falcon and Winter Soldier type stuff. The like
super amped for
stuff.
that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's what that show has to be, right? Why hint at it in the last movie if it isn't like Hawkeye and like an incredible Florence, being amazing.
Yeah.
But like then Doctor Strange, then Thor, and then we're just all of a sudden back into Wakanda. So unless the way they're like, okay, the way we're writing off Boseman is to have it be multiverse, which
is that a cop out?
Like, I personally think it is.
I think people would be pretty upset if that was the case.
Yeah, that's why. So it's just based on the timeline of movies and the way they're telling the story. I honest to God have no clue how they put Loki in any of this stuff unless it's Doctor Strange. Like Loki shows up again in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. That's the only place I feel like it could be.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I feel that Doctor Strange is going to be the like reoccurring character throughout all of these movies. Somewhat kind of like how Nick Fury was through a lot of like phase 2 and 3, where he'll like pop up at the end and I don't know, something fucking absurd will happen and then the movie will end. Right. But you're right. I don't know. Like, and here's the other thing too. If Fantastic Four is the end of phase 4 and that's like the end of the Kang arc, I'm going to be really upset. I hope the Kang arc is like all the way through like season 5 or phase 5, right? Like his character should be able to last that long. And I hope in phase 5 we get like a Young Avengers where we get like Iron Lad. I think that would be incredible. All the Young Avengers will exist at that point, right? And so they would have to do something like that. That's how you bring the Avengers brand back into the movie world. But I don't know. I don't know what the Fantastic Four might just be like. One of these movies ends and it's like the crazy piano line, the like dun 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 moment is them saying like, oh, it's his great granddad is Reed Richards, and then they like go somewhere and it's the fucking Fantastic Four people just hanging out. I don't know how they get to that point. I really have no idea how they get to the Fantastic Four. That's going to be a huge question for me, is how they actually introduce that. But it's going to be related to Kang, right? That's the only line right now that they have put in the entire MCU, is that Kang exists. That's got to be a lineage, the line of the Richards family. There's no other way about it, unless they're going completely off grounds from the comics.
And it makes Fantastic Four instantly important.
Yes,
right.
Without
to say
question.
Like you are immediately directly connected to the imminent threat to all of us. It immediately makes them look very, very important from this point on.
Yep.
And so it's a good introduction to those characters. You know, everyone for the most part, I think, gets who they are. So I'm curious how they'll introduce them. If we're gonna get an origin story, I hope we don't. I hate origin stories. What a giant waste of time movies those are. But like, okay.
Yeah, I hope we don't. Well, origin story, I feel like Marvel does origin stories well, just to talk on that these days, because it's more world building than it is an origin story. Like they kind of put those 2 and 2 in the same movie.
Right.
But that being said, no idea what the fuck you do with a Fantastic Four. No idea what that movie looks like. That'll just be a absolutely bonkers thing in terms of how they do that. And I don't even know who the villain is for that. Like, who is the initial Fantastic Four villain? Is it just straight up Kang at that point? Do they just go like straight to the end game for them? And it's like, we're going to bypass Doctor Doom. We're just going to go straight to Kang.
But it is the end of phase 4. I mean, like, it's the end of phase 4. So even though we don't have a name for the movie, but I feel like it has to be like the culmination of all of this stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
So it may not even be a Fantastic Four movie. It may just be the introduction to the Fantastic Four.
It could be
in the last half. Who knows?
It could be the Fantastic Four, like, you know, sewing up the multiverse.
Why would they be the ones in charge of that?
Maybe because that's what Reed Richards' specialty is. Maybe that's how he gets
multiverse sewing.
Well, the science of the multiverse, right? I mean, that's what his fucking granddad or grandchild did, right? Like he's created a way to live outside of time and be outside of time.
I know a lot of people in chat are talking about Doctor Doom, and I just want to say
that's a phase 5 thing.
Huge Doctor Doom fan, excited for Doctor Doom, but Doctor Doom is also the bad guy who is like,
he's not a bad guy.
There's like a million other baddies, and Doctor Doom's the guy that's like always just kind of there. And he's like, I'm up to things, and you know, you beat me this time, but I'll be back in a little bit. Like
I am also like, here.
Yeah, I am also here. He's like super cool, but also like Doctor Doom at the end of the day is kind of like a little pathetic, but like in a fun way. Like he's always up to shenanigans, but also like, you know, it's not nearly like he's a bad guy who's like, well, I also don't want to like. I'm trying to take over stuff. I'm not trying to like vaporize the planet.
Yeah.
And so I don't, you know, I think he's a fun villain to have as sort of like a through line through a lot of different things. But he's the perfect, like, I'll get you next time, Fantastic Four. Like, he's super fun.
That being
so I can
said,
see that being a villain.
Yeah, they Dr. Doom's fucking cool.
Yes, he's cool as shit. He's super fun.
He's fucking cool. Okay, I don't want to
he's
downplay him with your voice.
Yes.
yeah,
he's
cool
like
as shit.
a ton of fun. I love him. The problem is that every time we've seen Dr. Doom in movies, he's always like, in my next plan.
Oh, he's been dog shit in the movie. He's been absolute fucking trash. Yeah.
Make Dr. Doom as fun as Dr. Doom is. He looks cool.
Yeah.
He's odd. Like, he just wants to like be. Ironically, what they've done with Zemo is kind of Dr. Doomy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But well, it shows that they can actually do a Doctor Doom style character for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, if that's here, my pipe dream would be Fantastic Four does their movie, and then the start of Phase 1 is just a movie called like Doom or something like that. Right?
Doom.
Just give me a movie
shit.
that is just a solo movie that's focused around Doom, right? And have it be kind of like your bad guy is a good guy that you root for type character, right? Like that would be absolutely insane.
I want to know how they make his outfit. That's another one of those things where like movies have always screwed
I hope
it
they
up.
never show his face.
And I would
never
love
see
it
his
if he was
face.
just like, I'm in metal and I'm totally awesome. That would be incredible. I don't know.
There's a lot
I'm
of
bad
comic
at predicting what they do with the whole universe, so I'm not even going to try. Because I had this whole theory where I was like, well, in the comics, Wanda said no more mutants and kicked off extinction or whatever.
Yeah.
I had this theory that her dome was going to explode or whatever, which I was partially right because it did make Spectrum,
It
right?
did. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's going to create like Inhumans and mutants. And then there was like, nope, just, Spectrum. And I was like, oh, I had this worked out where I was like, and then we're going to get Miss Marvel and that'll explain why, because her dome or whatever is going to explode outwards and it's going to like create mutations. And that way they don't have to do the whole, where did mutants come from? And where did Inhumans come from? Because who the heck cares? Are we really going to get into Terrigen gas in these movies? No, we're not.
They did in
we're
the
not
Agents.
Get into.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had a shit ton of Terrigen.
Oh, I've never watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
We got a lot.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. still canon?
No, I don't think so.
There's no way it could be.
They don't have to get into the whole Terrigen thing. They can literally, because in the MCU, Wanda isn't a mutant.
Right.
Right? Like, she's literally not a mutant. So I was like, I bet they're not going to do this whole, there's mutants and Inhumans and all of that. I bet they're just going to do superpowered people. So I was like, well, what if like her dome like explodes or whatever, or something happens and certain people like get powers? And I thought, okay, well, they already announced Miss Marvel. This is how that's going to go. But it didn't. So I would just like to say, once in a while, I have some good ideas, but they're never the way that the MCU goes.
Here's the thing. Me and Jesse aren't good at it as well. We just say the most crazy shit and then hope that we say enough crazy shit that we hope some of it comes true. That's really the secret, Bronze. You just have to say enough stupid shit.
Yeah.
I learned that from all the guys who predict the world ends. You just keep saying the world's gonna end. Eventually, one day, you will be right.
You'll be right.
Yeah.
I guess, like, for me, it's just I haven't watched a lot of. If I don't like it, I don't watch it.
Right.
You know, like I never finished season 2 of Luke Cage because I really only liked the first season. Even that lost me like halfway through, but I still powered through.
It was half of a great season. That first
I never
season.
watched Iron Fist. I started it and was like, no.
Never watched what?
I never finished Iron Fist.
Oh, Iron Fist. Yeah. I
started it.
I still stand by that. We need to do a watch party of that. There's actually, I don't know if you guys saw this. There is an extension now that exists on Twitch that will let you sync up with everyone watching on other things that aren't Amazon Prime. And it's all like
cool as
DMC
hell.
legal. So like we could do, or DMCA legal. So like we could do a Netflix Iron Fist watch party. potentially.
Y'all are just gonna see me roast it the entire time. I was so
look. I don't care. I'll get to see more
during that show. I was like, this is dumb.
Whatever whatever her name is, the main character of Iron Fist.
I would pay good money to watch Bronze
Colleen
lose.
Yeah, Colleen Wang.
Yes.
Yeah.
To watch you lose your mind at that show would be truly a joy. Because
I don't think I'd be able to sit through it. I feel like I would stand up and walk away.
There's moments of it where it's good, and then Danny Masterson or whatever the fuck shows up. I don't think that's Danny Masterson. I think that was the guy from that
Barefoot
show.
Danny Rand walks through New York City. I know you'd be like, nope, I can't do this. I can't. The minute he's like,
in the first episode,
I trained with a dragon. You'd be like, nope.
Oh man. But then after we watch that, we could watch Punisher.
Episode. Okay, I like Punisher. I hated what little bit I saw of Iron Fist so much that I saw like a little clip from Comic-Con, like I think it was that year, the next year.
Yeah.
And it had like a bunch of the Netflix actors lined up, and the camera like goes across the panel, and they're all like waving or whatever. And the actor who plays Iron Fist, whose name I can't even remember, is like punches the camera. And I was like, you're corny on camera. You're corny in real life. This bitch really thinks he's Iron Fist. I hate this guy. And I was like, man, my dislike for that show has bled over into real life. As soon as he did his whole like whirl around and punch, I'm like, why couldn't you wave or pose like any of the other actors? You think you're a special guy? Huh? You think you're fucking real life Iron Fist? So mad.
Oh man.
And I was like, yo, I need to chill. This show is making me very hateful. I need to chill.
Yeah. That was it's all right. There's there's a dragon. You get to see a dragon. I really do wonder what's going to happen in Shang-Chi. Like if they're going to mention the Iron Fist. Like I really want to see
I was going to say.
It has to exist in some form.
We've talked about dragons on the show, especially in Shang-Chi, and we've said numerous times, Fing Fang Foom be dumb. If he shows up like
walking around
and he has like little tiny legs jeans, and he's like he waddles over like I don't know if you can hear that, but
we can.
That's how he walks.
Yeah.
That's how he walks. I can't imagine that being in a movie. So there's no way. There's no way that's in this film. So whatever it is, it's going to be something.
Aliens.
We have, again, I mean, obviously dragons are aliens. That is a fact.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah.
But, Fing Fang Foom, his legs move like he's Scooby-Doo running away from a monster. It's like, woo, like it's terrible. It was never good. It was never cool. Yeah, they got it. They have my permission to change the hell out of that. Go nuts.
Yeah,
go nuts. You will not hear anyone on the internet be like, they've ruined dragons in Marvel. It'll never happen.
It's true. It's true. We hadn't talked about this yet. I was saving it till we discussed episode 6 a little bit more, and then we talked for almost 2 hours. Apparently, if you play both episodes of Loki and the WandaVision finales, the scene where Wanda becomes the Scarlet Witch happens at the same time when He Who Remains hears the thunder, realizing there's no turning back from the chaotic multiverse.
How would you?
I don't know if that's complete happenstance or if that's like
time of episodes.
Time of episodes, yeah. I don't know if that's planned, but like that's a pretty kind of crazy coincidence if that's the case. It's kind of cool. Are you doing it?
I mean, of course I'm doing it.
Here, I could just link you the highlight of someone already doing the work.
Oh, someone did the work?
Someone already did the work.
But like, yeah. I don't know that I trust. I don't even trust them.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I mean, I'll take that link. I'm lazy, but like also.
Yeah. Yeah. The comment says He Who Remains drops something the same time that Agnes's falls. It's kind of an interesting thing. But I don't know I don't know if that's intentional. If that's actually intentional, then like they deserve a round of applause for that stuff. It'd be kind of crazy. Jesse, you're watching the footage. What are we seeing?
I can't. It says video not available. So.
It might have gotten DMCA stricken.
I don't necessarily think it's that her becoming the Scarlet Witch is why they can't go back. I almost feel like that's them deciding they're going to kill him, thereby bringing the multiverse into effect. Thereby,
I think
feel
I think what they're saying is the second that they pass the threshold, everything's fucked, and that's why she becomes the Scarlet Witch. That's what they're saying.
Oh, yeah. No, I could see that. I could see I could see the reverse being true.
Yeah, that was the catalyst for everything else.
And one has to assume that her children are alive and well in another timeline, or that they do exist in another timeline, which might be her inevitable ascent to villainhood status, because I think that is definitely coming.
Yeah, at some point.
I think without that, she's just not interesting. My opinion. I feel like with that, she's just infinitely more interesting.
Yeah. Jesse?
You know?
So
I also didn't see all the maturation that everybody else said. Okay, that's a different thing, though, because I could complain about how Wanda didn't learn anything all day long. But
sure.
So, like, it does seem, at least in this clip, to, like, sync up very, very well. And it even has the scene where, as he says, we just crossed the threshold, Agatha immediately then says afterwards, "Oh God, you don't know what you've done." So I think it's like super interesting. Boy, I feel like that is like a hyper coincidence rather than like Marvel specifically timed it so someone would figure this out.
Well, also, like, how do you figure that out? Like, who really decides, I'm going to go watch WandaVision and Loki's final episode to see if they sync up? Right? Like,
right.
Who actually does
it's super cool. It's very cool. It's certainly...
I don't necessarily think that anybody drew that link as, like, directly. I think it's more so we watch this thing once and then maybe in a couple weeks rewatch it. There are people that watch it and immediately rewatch it.
Yeah.
And so if you start looking at the frame by frame folks, that crowd, they 100% would be like, isn't this around the same time an episode? Because they know the timestamps, you know?
Right.
That's where their Twitter relevance comes from.
Right.
So
there's two other like little Easter egg type deals. Kate Herron, who was the director for all the episodes, confirmed that Jonathan Major voiced all three of the timekeepers. And so that was him saying, having the conversations in episode 4, and also the see you soon line was obviously like that was Kang saying the same thing. So that seems like it might be a general thread that Kangs say if they are taken out. And then
so he was the guy who was like, and me too, I'm also here. That was him?
That was him.
Amazing.
That was him. Yeah.
Don't forget about the third guy. you got main guy and then mustache face and then me.
It's true.
Third guy. I'm equally evil as the other three and in no way less evil or cool. Third guy.
I'm not sure who Eric Martin is, but I do know that he knows that they shot a scene for the Time Theater in episode 1 of Loki where he is being pummeled by Frog Thor, but it had to be cut to keep things moving. So that scene exists of Tom Hiddleston being beat up by Frog Thor. I hope that somehow gets shown or leaked or discussed somewhere down the line, because that's out there. It's out there. Maybe in the making of that comes out this week, that might be there. Don't forget, by the way,
release the frog cut.
I think it's already
release the frog cut.
Yeah.
I'm still just reeling from the fact that the last show we talked about on this show was Falcon and Winter Soldier, and commending MCU's ability to switch from Wanda to Falcon back to Loki, like universe impacting events to small scale to universe impacting, and that there's like, I don't know, and Black Widow, like I don't know, I just feel like it's crazy, like that we went from like episode 6 of Loki to Black Widow. Like that's like I understand that they happen in different places in the timeline, but narratively or thematically to be able to do that is actually kind of impressive because I think like in general they do a very good job of switching scale.
Yeah. And I mean that's what they're going to do for the next couple of movies, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some bitter, jaded people that were like, "Oh, Falcon and Winter Soldier, it doesn't have a greater impact on the universe, so it doesn't matter." But I think like most of us can enjoy like a smaller scale story and then switch back to something that's universe impacting, and then switch back to something small.
Yeah,
and I kind of, I kind of like that.
Unless it's in the movie Black Widow, in which case it was impossible for them to switch naturally between a family drama and then fighting on a flying space ship castle
with fake cloud that creates clouds.
That creates fake clouds.
Yeah,
I still can't. I'm still upset about that last half of that movie. I'm still angry.
I like how
can't get
all
over
of
it.
us were. I just love that all three of us were united in our belief that it was half of a good film.
I mean, I still enjoyed it. Yeah, I said what I said during the episode. I still enjoyed it. But did you see what I tweeted out this morning, Jess? Do you know the subreddit Shitty Movie Details?
Yes.
So there was a Shitty Movie Details that had me rolling this morning about Black Widow. Let me read it here. It says, in Black Widow 2021, the facility where Black Widow assassins are trained is called the Red Room because Red Room backwards is Mordor. So stupid.
So dumb.
So good. I just absolutely love that. The worst part about that tweet is people are responding to it and being like, well, that's kind of a stretch. It's like, read the subreddit, man. What the fuck?
Yes, that subreddit is purposefully terrible.
Yeah, it's really good.
Again, all I need to say is they were hidden above radar.
There you go. It's true.
That's all I need to say.
They're
it's true.
Above the radar.
They're above radar.
Yeah.
We hid this base the one place no one would ever look.
Yeah. It's great.
Above the radar.
So there was one more little like Easter egg that I thought was kind of clever. At the end of the episode when Mobius and B-51, I think that's her call sign. When they're both watching the timeline's branch, like Mobius's tie is a little bit disheveled. His buttons are unbuttoned on his collar. And then the next time you see them, about a minute later, they're like completely up to snuff. Everything's super well groomed. And it's like clear indicators that we're not in the same universe anymore. And then like, obviously the next scene is when they start talking. Right. But like they even went that far for the little details to like make sure that they're all proper and prim and like that stuff never happened to them. It's cool to see they're doing that stuff. Eventually we're going to see them slip up though. Right. Like there's no way that they can get a time ever since Endgame. There's no way that they can figure out the proper way to like do a timey-wimey story without having some major issues. But so far I think it's like pretty good. So far we're there somewhat.
Well, before it was the reason why time travel is easy is because we're not doing movie time travel logic. Where like if you go back in the past, it's literally like your past is your future. Like wherever you go, that's the future for you.
Yeah.
Like that's how time. And so that seems much easier than time travel plus multiverse. Because once you do that, then it's like, okay, well, your past is your present is also a side thing. And so there are multiple versions of the present, which is a past participle of the future variation of the universal you. And it's like, what did you just say?
It's true.
What?
Thank you, Doc Brown.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Quantum death, everyone. Look it up. Get your mind blown. Google quantum death on your free time. And you'll be like,
quantum death.
Like your brain will leak through your ears. You'll be like, what?
It's true. It's true. Well, that ends the old Loki. I think we'll wrap up season 1 MCU Crew of Loki there. I think we all agree that was our favorite so far of the Disney Plus. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Yeah. Bronze, you're in. You're
so
giving thumbs
good.
up. Okay. Yeah. Audio. We needed the audio confirmation. What are we doing next week? When does What If start?
I think we should, hear me out.
Yeah.
Start the great rewatch of like all the Netflix shows starting with Daredevil. like next week, maybe the first 2 episodes of Daredevil we can discuss.
We don't have
and relive the glory days.
August 11th is What If. So that's 3 weeks from now. 3 shows from now. And then Shang-Chi is September 3rd, which is 7 shows from now. So we've got some time. Didn't
we also promise we'd rank?
We did promise we would rank some stuff.
I feel like I need to rewatch a lot of stuff before I rank all of it.
Well, that's why we have to go by like.
We got to do phases.
Then phase 2. The problem is, I feel like phase 1 is so easy for me. I don't even need to rewatch
very
stuff.
Easy. I don't.
Like, I can just very quickly be like, "Here's there. It's easy. This is." Done.
Maybe we can do phase 1 and phase 2 next week. Maybe that's what we'll rank. Are we committed? Because I do think we also need to do a rewatch. I agree with what Bron said as well.
I'm going to be honest. I have to rewatch some of the phase 1 movies. I haven't, because even when I go back and rewatch, I don't necessarily rewatch those.
Hold on.
Like, it's been forever since I've seen Thor 1.
There's only 6 in phase 1.
There's only 6.
There's Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, First Avenger, and
Hulk.
Avengers. Wait, is that real? There's only 6? Yeah, there's only 6.
I haven't seen Incredible Hulk and Thor in a long time. Probably like 3-4.
I mean, that's the only one where there might be a conversation, but I think phase 1's pretty easy. It may be no, I think I could do that right now and not have issues. Maybe we do it next. Bronze, do you want to wait a week or so? You tell us.
I'm down to watch. I'm also down to watch Daredevil, but I don't know that we'll finish Daredevil in time before What If comes out.
Correct. Yeah. We'd have to. Well, maybe we'll talk offline for scheduling purposes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I just don't know if everyone's recollection. Maybe we need to have an episode devoted to Iron Man and talking about our favorite parts, because Jesse thought that Tom Morello. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying maybe we're all a little fuzzy and don't have the best appreciation of stuff.
I have done I've done 4 loops around the chronological rewatch, and the most recent one was midway through 2020. So I mean, I guess I could start another one.
On it.
I mean, I'm a little fresher on most people.
Jesse, what? You did. I'm just saying maybe your recollection isn't as crystal clear as you thought.
Maybe it's the kids who are the problem.
Boom.
You know, I always quote Iron Man 1 when Stain is like, the one line of Hindi Stain does. It's my favorite part when he goes, Tumhara sirf ye tofa hai. Sounds like Simlish. It's so good.
It does sound a little similar.
It's so bad, but I love it. Tumhara surf ye tofa hai. I'm like, yeah, you tell them.
It sounds like they said something and then played it backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll figure out what the plan for next week is. But we're on a little bit of a show break because What If doesn't start till August 11th. And then Shang-Chi is out on September 3rd. And then we've got a big break. That might be where we do some of the rewatch, because September 3rd to November 5th is the break for the MCU. So
wow,
a little bit of a doozy there. That'll
be our Daredevil stretch.
Yeah.
That's enough time to watch Daredevil.
The Daredevil stretch.
Unless they're planning to announce that like Miss Marvel is going to come out in like October or something, which I don't know, maybe they could, and then Hawkeye comes out in late November with Spider-Man in December. I guess they could maybe do that timeline wise. I don't know. We'll see. They've probably got news to do. Let's wrap up the show. We'll let you guys do some shout outs. Bronze, where can people check you out? What do you got going on?
Hi, hello. I'm ThatBronzeGirl. You can find me on Twitch. I'm a full-time streamer. You can also find me on Twitter. I post my spicy takes everywhere. I've got a YouTube channel where I upload the D&D game IGM on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check it out. And yesterday on stream, I beat Risk of Rain 2, including the final boss on the ha 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 difficulty. So
nice.
I'm a pretty cool person. I'm probably going to check out New World this week. So.
There you go. That launches tomorrow. Good luck.
Isn't it today?
Maybe it's today.
I don't know what I'm streaming today. But
I don't know. I thought it was the 20th. Anyways, Jesse.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. You said yesterday you wanted to get into the advertising game about yourself. Please tell the people where they can check you out.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jesse Cox. You can find me all over the internet. If you just Google Jesse Cox, there's so many places to look at and see this all up in your grill. But if you want to get more specific about it, check me out on twitch.tv/Jesse Cox. It is the home of the one-time sub. If you want to get subscribed and help me achieve the greatest number of Twitch subscribers all collected in one place in the history of Twitch, so I can rub it in the face of, I don't know, someone famous. That's our plan. One-time subscription. You'd be a fool not to take the deal. What a dummy you'd be if you chose not to. Then youtube.com/Jesse Cox. We got all sorts of stuff there. Fun videos and interesting little series and things that you can go look at. I know you'll love it. And if you don't, piss off. And then, hey, you can find me all over the place doing other things. If you like video games, check out Monster Prom, wink, or check out Max Gentleman, Sexy Business, wink, or check out future games coming out soon, wink. I'm everywhere, baby. And one day, I will be Mr. That Bronze Guy. Can't wait. Very excited.
There you go. I just want to point out to everyone, including Jesse, that he just told you to Google Cox. So good luck with that. Apparently Jesse comes up if you Google Cox anywhere. So have fun Googling that. Otherwise, it was 10 out of 10. Good job, Jesse. Keep it up.
Thanks, bud.
I'm proud of you. What do we got going on for me? We've got JPNN coming up. I have a very busy week. We've got like 3 sponsored streams happening between now and Friday. New PoE League on Friday. Tomorrow we're doing, I don't know if I could, it's like there's a popular Square Enix game potentially coming out soon that I'll be doing a sponsored stream for. Thursday, I'm going to be doing some figurine painting for a sponsored stream, which I'm actually very nervous about because I actually have to paint something on stream, and that just doesn't sound good at all. But we'll figure it out. We'll see how it goes. And then just a bunch of other stuff happening. So if you want to check any of that out, feel free to come on by over at itmeJP or check out the YouTube video for more MCU episodes, or you can find us on podcast platforms everywhere. And we do appreciate our podcast listeners. Make sure to leave a review on whatever you're listening to. Spotify, iTunes, podcast places. What else is out there? There's Spotify and iTunes. That's all I know. What other podcast platforms are there? Do you guys know any?
I have no clue.
Is there a Zoom still? Does Zoom still have a podcast? No, that's Zune is what I'm trying to say, not Zoom. I don't know if Zoom still
Google,
exists.
Play.
Google Play. That's one. There we go. It's accurate. That's true. Chad also just reminded me that Venom is out in September.
Venom.
Forgot about that.
Did we really do that at the same time?
I don't know why you guys did that. That's their Venom impression. Look forward to that.
Venom.
And more.
Denim.
Don't worry, Eddie. He's the Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Eddie. We eat lots of cookie together. Yeah.
It'll be September for that. We'll definitely be watching it. That's it for the MCU crew. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you next Monday at noon Eastern for more. We're out of here. Bye-bye.